Hello and welcome to the Wolf Plays. Lone Wolf Wednesday. We're up to Wolfsbane. In the Lone Wolf Saga. You are Grand Master Lone Wolf, the sole survivor of a massacre that wiped out the First Order of the Kai, the elite warriors of Summerland. The year is 5080. 30 years since your brave's kinsmen perished at the hands of the Dark Lords of Helgadad, the champions of evil who were sent forth by Nar, King of Darkness, to destroy the fertile world of Magnamund. They themselves have since been destroyed. You vowed to avenge the murder of the Kai, and you kept your pledge. For it was you who brought about their downfall, when alone you infiltrated their foul domain. The Darklands, and caused the destruction, bless me, of their leader and his base of power that was the infernal city of, bless me, Helgadad. In the wake of their destruction, chaos befell the Darkland armies, who had been poised to conquer all of Magnamund. This disorder escalated into a mutinous civil war, which allowed the Freeland armies time in which to recover and launch a counter-offensive. Against the odds, a swift and total victory was secured over the feuding Darkland armies. Ooh, this has been shortened. This used to be like 2 paragraphs. They've condensed this bit of the synopsis. For 10 unbroken years, peace has reigned in Summerland. Under your direction, the once ruined monastery of the Kai has been rebuilt and restored to its former glory. The task of teaching a new order of warriors the skills and traditions of your ancestors is also well established. The new generation of recruits, all of whom were born during an era of war against the Dark Lords, possess strong latent skills, and all show exceptional promise. These skills will be nurtured and honed to perfection during their time at the monastery, so they may teach and inspire future generations, thereby ensuring the continued security of your homelands in future years. Your attainment of the rank of Grand Master brought with it great rewards, some, such as the restoration of the Kai and undying gratitude of your fellow Summerlending, could well have been anticipated, yet there have also been rewards that could not possibly have been foreseen. The discovery that within you lay the potential to develop disciplines beyond those of a Magna Kai, which were thought to be the ultimate to which a Kai Master could aspire, was truly a revelation. Your discovery has inspired you to search for the wisdom and power that no Kai Lord before you has ever possessed. In the name of your Creator, and for the greater glory of Summerland and the goddess Ashir, you have vowed to reach the very pinnacle of perfection, to attain all of the Grand Master disciplines and become the first Kai Supreme Master. With diligence and determination, you set about restoring the monastery and training the new order recruits. Your efforts were rewarded. Within the space of 2 short years, the first raw recruits had graduated to become a cadre of gifted Kai Masters, who in turn were able to commence the teaching of their skills to subsequent intakes of novices. The Masters readily rose to their newfound responsibilities, leaving you freer to devote more of your time to the pursuit and perfection of your Grand Master disciplines. During this time, you also received, G'day Vama, expert tutelage in the ways of... Actually, you know what, we can bump that up a bit. In the ways of magic, from 2 of your most trusted friends and advisors, Guildmaster Bane, leader of the Brotherhood of the Crystal Star, and Lord Ramoa, speaker for the High Council of the Elder Mages of the Desi. Can't let you do that, Lone Wolf. Not yet. The party's just begun. In the deepest subterranean level of the monastery, 100 feet below the Tower of the Sun, you ordered the excavation and construction of a special vault. In this magnificent chamber, wrought of granite and gold, you placed the 7 law stones of Nixator, ignoring the fact that about 3 of them disappeared as soon as you touched them, absorbed into your body. We're retconning this because we choose to do so. gems of Kai power which you had discovered during your quest for Kai knowledge. In this vault, bathed in the golden light of those radiant gems, you spent countless hours in the pursuit of perfection. Sometimes alone, sometimes in the company of your two able advisors, Bane and Ramoa. You worked hard to develop your Grandmaster disciplines and grasp the fundamental secrets of Brotherhood and Old Kingdom magic. During this time, you noticed many remarkable changes taking place within your body. You became physically and mentally stronger, your senses sharpened beyond anything that you had experienced before, and perhaps most remarkably, your body began to age at a much slower rate. Now, for every 5 years that elapse, you age but one. In the years since your victory over the Dark Lords, peace has reigned victorious, and the peoples of the free kingdoms rejoice in the knowledge that the evil that once threatened to destroy them has been banished from the face of Magnamund. Men have readily exchanged their swords for plowshares and shields for plows. And now, the only marching they do is along the ruts of their freshly furrowed fields. Few are the watchful eyes that scan the distant horizon, in fear of what might appear, though there are those who still maintain their vigilance, for the agents of the Dark God come in many guises, and there are those upon Magnamund who wait quietly in the shadows for the chance to do his evil bidding. Already your newfound skills have been tested against Nar's agents, and you have, on each occasion, acquitted yourself admirably. Yet your continued victories have enraged the Dark God and inflamed his lust for vengeance. 3 years ago, you and your new Kai kinsman achieved a glorious victory over a host of deadly lavas, dragon-like horrors sent by Nar to destroy the Kai monastery, and lay waste to Summerland, and yet, despite their supernatural strength, they were defeated in battle by the courage and skills of the new Kai Order, who fought magnificently under your leadership. After this ignominious defeat of his minions, Nar retreated to the Plane of Darkness to plot new schemes. Victory at the monastery had won you a respite in the Dark God's war against Summerland and the Kai. The following 3 years were peaceful for your homeland, yet elsewhere on Magnamund, the agents of Nar continued their insidious work. On several occasions, your special skills were sought by envoys from foreign realms, whose leaders were desperate to rid themselves of Nar's minions. Courageously you undertook many of these dangerous missions, and, by succeeding where no one else could, brought fresh glories upon yourself and your fellow Kai. In the year 5080, during a return voyage by sea from a successful quest to Desi, an act of sabotage very nearly wrecked the sailing ship that was transporting you home. Only fair weather and skillful repairs by the crew saved the ship from being lost in the Gulf of Duranor. When the damaged craft limped home into its home port of Anskaven, more than 2 weeks late, the reception you received was far from welcoming. The normally cheerful seafaring folk of this busy port were in a strangely sullen mood. They recognized you, yet none cheered you as you disembarked on the quay. The crowd was quietly hostile. Before you could determine their reasons, the uneasy silence was shattered by a troop of heavily armored cavalrymen who came galloping along the quayside, their gleaming swords drawn. The crowd scattered as the horsemen drew around you in a circle. Their leader, a nervous young lieutenant whose coat bore the black eagle and 3-heart motif of Avan Kaldar, Baron of Anskaven, ordered you to lay down your weapons. Not wishing to provoke the city troopers, you obeyed and allowed them to escort you to the Baron's castle, where you felt sure their inglorious mistake would soon be punished. Baron Kaldar formally received you in the Great Hall. You had met previously in state occasions at King Olnar's court in Holmgard, and had always held each other in high esteem. Yet Kaldar, flanked by more than a dozen bodyguards, could barely bring himself to conceal his contempt. He spoke of you as if you were a hated criminal. You asked why you were being treated in this manner, yet your pleas fell on deaf ears. Without further explanation, he ordered you be taken immediately to the dungeons and placed in irons. Later that evening, using your disciplines to help loosen the tight lipped resolve of a dungeon guard, you learned the reasons for your apparent fall from grace. You first arrived in Anscaven by ship 18 days ago, as expected, said the jailer in response to your psychic commands. Baron Kaldar met you personally at the quayside and gave you a horse and 6 of his best troopers to escort you to Tauren. During your ride to that city, they say you murdered his men and burnt their bodies. Upon arriving in Tauren, you tried to assassinate Bane. No! The Guildmaster of the Brotherhood of the Crystal Star. Bane has survived, yet much of the Guildmaster's hall was destroyed by your doing. To cover your escape from the city, you poisoned the wells, causing hundreds of deaths. At first, it was said that a Helghast had adopted your likeness to gain entry. But Guildmaster Bane has refuted these claims. He is convinced that you were possessed by the spirit of Nar. The Guildmaster dispatched the Tauren militia to spread this message across Summerland. A few days later, at the forest village of Durnfallow, near Tyso, the Fry Earl of Durnfallow was murdered and his manor house was torched to the ground. The villagers say they saw you riding away from the blazing ruins, howling like a crazed wolf. The people are terrified by the thought that Nar has corrupted you, their greatest hero, and turned you against them. They are scared. G'day, Decoy. That they're scared and they are demanding swift justice. King Ulnar has bowed to their will and sent all of his border rangers to Tyso with orders to find and kill you on sight. The news of your alleged crimes comes as a bitter blow. You are sure that this is all the handiwork of an agent of Nar, and you resolve to find and vanquish the impostor at the first opportunity. However, as you cast your eyes around the damp walls of the castle dungeon, you can only pray to Ashir and Kai that the Baron and his guards will believe your story and allow you a chance to reclaim your honor. Okay. 3 skills left to pick from. Magic, Craftsmanship, or Advanced Animal Control. So what does this one give us? Shield, Power Word, and Invisible Fist. Versus Advanced Ability to Control Fish and Birds. If we're trying to search for evil us who could be hiding in the forests, I feel like Advanced Animal Mastery may well be more useful. Let's go with Quarterstaff for our next weapon to master. We can deposit some stuff. I don't need a pouch of tobacco. I don't need a military pass. I don't need... What's this? Okay, I don't need a potion to protect me from the Stormlands. I don't need a bottle of brandy liqueur. Is this effectively... Yeah, that was effectively another platinum amulet. I don't need that. But rope, spyglass, potion, tinderbox doesn't sound stupid. I might deposit 1 potion for the future. Oh, special items, yes. Okay. Sun crystal. We don't need that. We used that at the end of the last book. That was how we blew up the Shadow Gate. Silver seal? Yeah, I don't think we need that. That was of the Queen or whatever, of the area that we were passing through. Okay, that should do. And money? Deposit some money. We always roll more money. Yeah, I understand. We might run out of space. Okay. Meal. Another healing potion. A second rope. And another meal. The usual spiel about as long as you are wise and lucky, no matter how poor your you rolled for your initial combat skill or health, you should be okay. You sure have accumulated a lot of junk? We have. At this point, the whole monastery, which is like a castle, is nothing more than the hundreds of ropes and spare swords that we've collected from our various adventures. The jangle of keys and the metallic squeal of a rusty iron bolt make your pulse quicken. Moments later, the heavy dungeon doors creak open and two imperious figures step with caution into the dingy cell. They are protected by a dome of radiant magical energy, yet you can see enough of their features through the shimmering force field to recognize them as Baron Kaldar and Guildmaster Bane. "Well met, old friend," you call out, but Bane does not return our greeting. His countenance is one of fearful suspicion. Clearly he and the Baron suspect that you are an evil impostor who has wrought havoc across Summerland. "Come now, Bane. Truly, it is I, Lone Wolf. Will you not release me from these shackles?" Bane takes hold of a crystal pendant that hangs from a chain about his neck, and a wave of strong psychic energy washes over you. The sensation is deeply unpleasant, yet you resist the urge to raise your psychic defenses to repel it. You will instead allow the mental probe to access the recesses of your mind, and gradually Bane's grim expression is replaced by a smile. He nods approvingly, and in an instant, the magical barrier that protects the two men blinks out of existence. We do have a platinum amulet. "Release him, my lord," says Bane. The Baron, caught off guard by the sudden disappearance of his magical shield, and the Guildmaster's unexpected request, takes a step backwards and reaches nervously for his sword. "Have no fear," says Bane, staying the Baron's hand. "We have here the true Kai Grandmaster." "How can you be so sure?" retorts the Baron. Bane smiles and points to the amulet you wear around your neck. "Look, no agent of Nark would tolerate the touch of that goodly artifact. Banish your doubts, my lord. This is Lone Wolf." Kaldar removes his hand from his sword and heaves a heavy sigh of relief. "Thank Ashir that you have returned to us, Grandmaster. Perhaps now the evil that has befallen Summerland can be avenged." The Baron summons his jailer, who unlocks the shackles encasing your wrists. Then, as the three of you hurriedly ascend from the castle dungeons to the Great Hall, Kaldar and Bane confirm the account of events that you had extracted from the jailer. In addition to these facts, you also learn that several days ago, an angry mob, composed of the main of soldiers and citizens from Holmgard, marched upon the monastery. Firestone, the most senior of the new Kai Order, pleaded with the mob for calm. Fortunately, they heeded his call and allowed him to send 4 masters to Taiso, the city where the impostor was last sighted. Firestone had ordered these Kai to track down and slay the impostor as swiftly as possible. You are in no doubt that the impostor is a formidable enemy, one who could easily prove to be a match for 4 young Kai. Anxious for their safety, you requested that you were allowed to ride to Taiso to join them. Bane is in agreement, though he suggests a swifter and surer way to reach there. Moored to the tower of Baron's castle is Cloud Dancer, the Guildmaster's skyship, which he places at your disposal. Gratefully you accept his generous offer. You are keen to leave for Taiso without further delay, but before you depart, Baron Kaldar offers you the chance to equip yourself with weapons and stores from his armory. How could we possibly decline more garbage to carry? Some spare arrows, or are they special items? You can't carry... we're not allowed to anymore. You used to be able to carry separate arrows from the quiver, I thought. Ooh, naphtha bomb. Yes, please. We'll take this. And other than that, no, because I'm full on everything else. Time getting ready for our jumble sale at the end of all this. If you choose to take any of the above, make the adjustments to your action chart, your inventory, and then leave. Baron Kaldar escorts you and Bane Baron escorts you and Bane to the roof of his castle, where, hovering above, you see the great gleaming hull of the Guildmaster's skyship, Cloud Dancer. At Bane's signal, a cage is lowered from the stern of this magical vessel, and after bidding farewell to the Baron, you are both hoisted aboard. The crew, some of whom are survivors from his previous skyship, Skyrider, are agitated by your unexpected appearance. A sibilant hiss of their fearful whispers echoes softly along the deck. But, immediately, Bane vouches that you are not the impostor who has been terrorizing Summerland these last few weeks, and this swiftly allays his crew's suspicions. As you accompany the Guildmaster to his quarters, the mood of the men and dwarves of the ship's complement changes. Respectfully, they salute you, and welcome you with pride aboard their wondrous craft. The Cloud Dancer sets sail and follows a southwesterly bearing for the city of Tyso, over 100 miles distant. The night sky is clear, and Giovanno, the ship's pilot, is confident you should arrive within the hour. During the brief voyage, Bane communicates magically with the elders of his brotherhood in Turan. He informs them of your safe return and tells them of your plans to track down the impostor. In response, they assure him that word of your return will be conveyed to the king in Holmgard, and to your beleaguered kinsman at the Kai Monastery. This glad news does much to lift your bruised spirits. It seems as if you've been aboard the Cloud Dancer for no more than a few minutes when a message arrives from the forward lookout. Tyso lights due south. You leave Bane's comfortable quarters below deck and accompany him to the prow rail, from where? That sounds weird. From where you catch your first aerial glimpse of the distant city port. The warm lantern lights of hovels and taverns shimmer like a captive cluster of stars within the city's protective wall. At the Guildmaster's command, Giovanni begins the descent, and as the twinkling lights loom larger, you are able to make out the silhouette of a grand castle that is perched on a headland overlooking the harbour. That is our destination, the castle of Baron Tor Medar, Seneschal of Tyslo. Guided by a circle of blazing beacons, Giovanni, the pilot, lands the ship expertly in the middle of a paved training park, located within the castle's expansive grounds. In Tyso, a curfew is in force, and the only figures lawfully abroad at night are the Baron Medar's guardsmen, whose numbers have been doubled by a regiment of border rangers recently arrived from Holmgard. Bane suggests you stay on board until he has informed the Baron of the true situation. The guards of Tyso are under orders to kill you on sight. It would be wise not to show yourself until I have explained this all to the Baron. You remain in his quarters while Bane seeks an audience with the Baron. Shortly he returns with the Baron, who, entering the cabin, greets you warmly like a father welcoming home a favoured son. You will always be welcome here, Lone Wolf, he says, clasping your hands in friendship. I knew in my heart you were innocent of these crimes, which have so shocked our people. You can rely on me to help you find the impostor, who has sought to harm us and bring dishonour upon your good name. You thank the Baron for his support and his pledge of loyalty, and you tell him how pleased you are to be in Tyso after the months you have spent abroad. Then come, my lord, let us adjourn to my hall, where you might enjoy the hospitality of my court. And turns to leave the cabin. As he reaches the door, he says, "Oh, by the way, there are some men waiting there who I'm sure will be pleased to meet you." The Baron escorts you and Bane through the echoing corridors of his castle, past watchful ranks of court guards and the border rangers, to a hall which is lavishly furnished with Duranese oak and rare silken tapestries. Awaiting you there are a group of young men attired in hooded grey cloaks and close-fitting tunics. You recognize them immediately, for they are 4 of your most promising students, the Kai Masters Blackhawk, Starlynx, Blazer, and Steelhand. And we get a nice little artwork of them. Praise Ashir, you've returned, Grandmaster, says Blackhawk. Blade, Laser, Blazer, and Jeff. It is a bit unfortunate they named one Blazer, but whatever. Praise Ashir, you've returned to us, Grandmaster, says Blackhawk, laying his right hand across his chest in a formal Kai salute. His companions breathe an audible sigh of relief as they too salute you and bow in deference to your rank. Stand easy, my lords, you say, smiling as you motion to relax them. It warms my heart and gives me strength to be with you once again. We've heard the Guildmaster's account, says the red-haired Blazer, and we await your orders, my lord. Blazer cardigan, jumper, and waistcoat. At least it isn't like Blazer 420 and Vaporwave. Upon your command, we will find the impostor and avenge the honor of the Kai. You're about to give your answer when a court herald announces the unexpected arrival of Lord Foylan, Reeve Lieutenant of Tyso, the man charged with keeping law and order in the city. Upon entering the hall, he is momentarily taken aback by the sight of you standing at the Baron's side. Calm yourself, Foylan, says Baron Medar. This is the true lone wolf, not the impostor stalking our lands. What news have you? Furfuriz no cap bussin guildmaster? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do kids speak. Sire, the Kai impostor has been sighted within the hour by rangers in the city's north quarter. They tried to take him captive, but he slew 2 and wounded 3 before escaping into the old necropolis. The city watch have both entrances secure. He will not be permitted to escape. Very good, my lord, retorts Baron. So we have him cornered. If he's gone to ground in the necropolis, says Bane, he will be hard to track down. The catacombs of that ancient burial field are vast. It could take months to search them all. Never fear, you say confidently. With the help of my Kai Masters, I will track down and trap this impostor before dawn. I, my lord, pipes Starlynx, elated by the thought of the hunt, will flush this cur from his hole before sunrise and bring him to justice. Guided by Lord Foylan, you take your leave of Bane and Baron Medar and depart from the castle on horseback, accompanied by your eager Kai. During your ride through the twisting, lantern-lit streets of Tyso, is Starlynx related to Star Fox? Oh, I do wonder if, that makes me wonder if Decoy saw Vumma's first comment before Decoy seemed to be around. You learn from Foylan that there are only 2 ways in and out of the city's old necropolis. By its south gate, or by its western arc. Ah, well, Decoy, it's, can't let you do that, lone wolf. The impostor fled into the burial ground by the south gate, my lord, says Foylan, but that was more than an hour ago. He could be deep underground by now. If you wish to ask Foylan to lead you to the south gate, go to 337. If you choose to go to the west arch instead, go to 323. Well, he was found by the south gate. Let's go where he was. "This way, my lords," shouts Foylan as he spurs his black mare along a mist-wreathed street that snakes through Tyso's shabby northern quarter. The street is deserted, yet many citizens witness your passing. Their eyes glint in the moonlight as they peep through the smoky yellow panes of their windows, their curiosity and fears awakened by the clatter of the horses' hooves. At length, the street opens into a wider avenue and gently descends towards a sprawling expanse of derelict ground, surrounded by a tall moss-covered perimeter wall. Several dozen guards and rangers have gathered at a distant archway in this wall, and by magnifying your vision, you can see they have erected a barricade which completely blocks the entrance to the burial grounds beyond. The Reeve lieutenant tells you to wait there with your men. Then he goes forward and informs the guards of the situation, and to tell them that you and your companions are not the impostors. On seeing his signal, you move forward and join him at the archway. At his command, the guards hurriedly clear away some of the rubble which fills the entrance, enabling the five of you to dismount and proceed into the necropolis on foot. In the moonlight, the burial ground has a certain ghostly beauty. There is an aura of sad serenity surrounding its mouldering tombs, as, with the passing of centuries, they crumble to dust and disappear with their secret memories of another age. But all is not what it seems. Your sixth sense detects a lingering aura of evil that has invaded this place. A glance at your fellow Kai tells you that they too can sense its presence. You clasp the platinum amulet, and a tingling vibration runs through the palm of your hand. The sensation grows stronger as you move along the weed-choked path that leads to the shadowy tomb. With the passage of years, the tomb has settled lopsidedly into the soft Tysoian earth. It should so be soil, because soft Tysoian soil would be a lovely not assonance. Assonance? Is it assonance? Yeah, assonance. Okay. I'm not crazy. Anyway, just a sec, I need to turn on the fan. It's nowhere near as hot as yesterday, but it's still a bit warm. There we go. Thankfully it's not yesterday's 41, because that was a bit hideously warm. Yet a flight of damp stone steps. See, there we go. There's some nice damp stone steps. Descends to where its door once was. As you draw nearer, you notice that all that now remains of the door is a mound of broken rubble. If you have spirit walking, go here. Your advanced Kai senses detect faint magical energies radiating from a large chunk of rubble that lies in the open doorway to the tomb. Cautiously, you move nearer to inspect the slab of stone and discover an intricate design scratched upon its surface. It's been smeared with dirt, and a magical spell of shielding has been placed upon it to disguise its true purpose. Yet you immediately realize what it is, and you recoil from the slab, hurriedly retreating a dozen paces. It is a glyph of power, a magical booby trap which has been expertly camouflaged to keep it secret. If anyone or anything were to step upon or pass over the glyph, the energy contained within would be released in a devastating instant. You warn the others of what you have found and tell them to retreat a safe distance. From the cover of a gravestone several yards from the tomb, you instruct Starlynx to pick up a rock and hurl it through the open doorway. He selects an apple-sized chunk of granite and lobs it accurately into the tomb. Pick a number from the random number table. We have picked a high number. Starlynx dives for cover behind the gravestone, but you stay on your feet to watch the trajectory of the rock as it disappears into the tomb opening. The moment it passes over the glyph, there is a blinding flash of white light, followed almost instantly by a deafening crackle of exploding electrical energies. You are hit with a concussive force which knocks you flat on your back. Take 2 HP damage. As you lie on the hard, damp ground, gasping for breath, you hear splinters of stone ricocheting off the surrounding gravestones, and smell the stench of scorched earth and ozone in the air. Abruptly, the noise and light abate, and the burial ground is shrouded once more in a gloomy silence. You pull yourself to your feet and see the doorway is now clear of rubble, save for the slab upon which the glyph was inscribed. The destructive power of the glyph has been discharged, but only temporarily. Your senses warn you that it is recharging, and you have but a few seconds in which to enter the tomb before it is active once more. "Quickly!" you shout, as you hurriedly rush towards the entrance. "Follow me." The inside of the tomb is a cold and somber place, devoid of all life. Its featureless walls glisten with rivulets of moisture, and the air is dank and evil-smelling, like the breath of some cold-blooded reptile. At its center, where one would have expected to find the remains of a nobleman who long ago was incarcerated here? Really? I thought that was imprisoned. Yeah, that doesn't feel like the right word for a corpse. There is instead a yawning shaft. An ancient bronze ladder is fixed to the shaft wall and descends to an unknown depth. Using your senses, you scan the tomb and detect lingering traces of the impostor. His trail leads directly to the ladder. After satisfying yourself that your quarry has left behind no more unwelcome surprises, you step onto the ladder and begin a slow descent into the shaft. The ladder ends inside a large stone chamber, 100 feet below the tomb. Here you discover a granite coffin embellished with runes and ancient summer-lending script. As you wait for your Kai companions to complete their descent, you read enough of the script to learn that you have found the final resting place of Hul Garulan, 3rd Baron of Tyso. Your senses confirm that you are on the trail of the impostor. Yet, there appears to be no other exit from the chamber, other than the shaft by which you entered. If you have the alchemy skill and have played enough of the previous books, turn here. Your experienced eye is drawn to the chamber's north wall. You step closer, magnifying your vision, enabling you to detect 2 faint hairline cracks in the damp granite surface. They run vertically from the floor to the ceiling and appear to be the outline of a secret panel. But all is not what it seems. You utter the words of the advanced Brotherhood spell See Illusion, and the truth is swiftly revealed. The panel doesn't exist. It is a skillful illusion. With the memory of the power glyph you encountered at the tomb entrance fresh in your mind, you command your companions to stand with their backs against the south wall. You scoop a handful of gravel from the floor and hurl it towards the north wall. There is a sudden flash of blue-white light, which melts into a shower of hissing sparks as the gravel passes through the illusionary panel, dissipating its energy. "Just as I thought, another trick," you say as you unsheath your weapon and signal for your comrades to follow your lead. "Be on your guard. We are hunting a cunning foe." One sec, sorry. Beyond where the illusionary north wall once stood, you can now see a small antechamber, which is wreathed in acrid blue smoke. Gradually, the smoke dissipates to reveal a shallow plinth upon which lies a bronze urn. This heavy object rests on its side, and a quantity of pale grey ash has spilled from its lid. Cautiously you approach the urn and see that there is an inscription engraved upon its side. From this ancient script you learn that the ashes are the last remains of Baroness Garrelin, the wife of Hurl, 3rd Baron of Tyso. Glinting, half buried in the ash, you notice a ring, encrusted with crimson gemstones. Sure, why not take the ruby ring? You are writing at the urn on its plinth when you hear Steelhand calling you. He has found something among the rubble littering the floor at the rear of the antechamber. Steelhand and the other Kai clear away the rubble to reveal a trapdoor set into the floor. You command Starlynx to tie one end of his rope to its bronze ring, and then together, from a safe distance, you pull open the stone hatch. No traps are sprung as the heavy slab of stone creaks open, and when you move closer you see a circular chute, and a ladder descending to a deeper level of the catacombs. You peer down into the darkness, and you detect fresh tracks on the ladder's iron rungs. You are back on the imposter's trail. Cautiously, you lead the descent into the chute, using your powers of infravision to scan for signs of movement in the damp darkness below. After several minutes, you reach the bottom of the ladder, where you discover a large, vaulted chamber. Around its walls are positioned urns and grey stone caskets, each embellished with traces of gold. There is an unexpected air of opulence about the vault, which prompts you to guess that it is a secret burial tomb. If you have ever visited the graveyard of the ancients in a previous adventure, turn here. Looking around the walls of this tomb brings back memories of the time that you ventured into the graveyard of the ancients. The shape of the urns which stand here is identical to those you discovered by chance in the tombs beneath that forbidden burial ground. The recollection chills you, for clearly you recall that those urns contained deadly crypt spawn. You focus your sixth sense on the urns that line the chamber, and to your relief you detect no living creature lurking within. You instruct the others to examine them with care, and to your surprise they discover they contain lamsfer leaves, spotted with age but still possess healing powers. There are enough leaves here for 3 potions. Each potion counts as a backpack item, and will restore 4 hit points when swallowed after combat. Of course we take the potions, and if I have to give up Spyglass, Tinderbox, and Meal in order to do so, then I will. Because nothing could be more useful than a backpack full of healing potions. You are helping Blazer to tilt one of the urns when a sudden and unexpected noise at the far end of the chamber sets your pulse racing. The grating rumble of stone on stone heralds the sudden appearance of the imposter. Like some secret door to a nightmare realm, the entire far wall of the vault is slowly sliding open. Violent tremors shake the floor, and orange tongues of flaming gas shoot from the ever-widening gap. Silhouetted in the center of this fiery portal is a warrior clad in a parody of the robes of a Kai Grand Master. His stature and facial features bear an uncanny resemblance to your own, yet the two of you are not entirely identical. The eyes of this impostor betray his true nature, for they are black and cold. They are like 2 tiny windows through which you can see the evil lurking deep within his heart. The portal crackles and roars like a blazing furnace, yet it radiates no heat. You sense a powerful magic at work, and you shout a command to your comrades to prepare themselves for combat. They react as one, their years of training suppressing their fears, and swiftly they draw arms and form up in a protective circle around you. The impostor unsheaths his black-bladed sword and gives vent to a chilling laugh that momentarily drowns the roar of the flames. His cruel laughter fills your head, and suddenly the stone walls of the vault seem to writhe and buckle inwards. Your psychic Kai defenses resist the illusion, and the distortion ceases. Yet, as it does so, you realize that something important has changed. You command your companions to retreat towards the chute, but they do not respond. They are frozen, completely rigid, immobile, like 4 stone statues. Is the phrase "tell it walking" an Aussie phrase? Not that I'm aware of. But it might be a regional thing. Ha ha ha, cackles the imposter. So we meet at last, Lone Wolf. It'd be from Brisbane. Yeah, there's probably regional phrases from Brisbane that I don't know. I wouldn't say it's definitely not. But it's not one that I know. Brisbane is what, like, over 1,000 miles away, literally? Yes, it's literally over 1,000 miles away. You command. There are some small regional differences. They all speak in a super nasally voice, even more so than us. Alright, where are we? Ha ha ha, cackles the imposter. So we meet at last, Lone Wolf. He advances a little nearer, and you feel a icy chill wash over you. The body of this bogus Kylord irradiates coldness. How I have enjoyed myself in your guise. Let me introduce myself. I am Wolfsbane. An apt name, don't you think? What is your purpose? You growl in reply, your hand poised to draw a weapon in case he should attempt to launch a sudden attack. Why, I've come to kill you, of course, he retorts. No, Lone Wolf, I expect you to die. There should be but one Grand Master, and only I am worthy of such distinction. The imposter narrows his coal-black eyes and curls his lips in disdain. And I intend to prove my worthiness, he adds with quiet menace. How so, you ask? With a duel! I challenge you to a duel, a fight to the finish. A fight between just you and I. And should I refuse your challenge? Then your 4 frail acolytes shall die. The imposter sweeps his sword in a wide arc, as if to emphasize his threat, and the fiery wall at his back begins to change. The plumes of flame twist and spin with an increasing speed, until the wall is transformed into a swirling vortex. Fear tightens its icy fingers around your throat, as you witness the creation of a shadow gate, oh, not another one, a portal to another plane of existence. At once you know his threat is real. Yeah, we're doing alright, Parabola. So far, so good. The worst we've had so far is getting flashbanged. If he were to direct the power of the vortex towards your paralyzed companions, they would be helpless to resist, and they would be sucked into the Shadow Gate and destroyed. Very well, I accept your challenge. Because one of our underlings here was named Blazer, and we were making fun of the name. Wolfsbane gives a triumphant smile and whirls his black sword around his head. Then he dashes the blade to the floor, and in a terrifying instant, a mighty gust of wind tears the 2 of you from your feet, and sends you both hurtling into the fiery heart of the dreaded Shadow Gate. If you have super immunity to cold and poison and gas, and you've played enough of the previous books, turn here. Fiery winds sear your face and your body as you tumble headlong towards the whirling white heart of the vortex. Motes of fire stream past on all sides, and a roaring wind howls like a demon in your ears. You pass through a cloud of sparkling vapor, which wraps threads of silver light around your limbs and torso. As you emerge from the cloud, this shimmering cocoon grows tighter and tighter, until the pain becomes almost unbearable. What I can say, Dawn Treader, is that my state, we will use heaps as an adjective, which isn't so common elsewhere. So you would say, for example, say something is heaps good, meaning it is very good. And that's not, like, that's part of my state's regional dialect. Brisbane has, if I remember, something to do with... Oh god, I'd remember it if I heard it, but... They also have a weird phrase. And it's not the one that you mentioned. If you possess a Grand Nexus, which we do, and have attained enough rank, i.e. have played all the previous books, or at least enough of them to get that rank, which we have, because we've played literally every single one up until now, turn to here. Rapidly, the pain melts away as your advanced Kai mastery sheathes and protects you from the crushing grip of the vortex. The strands of light unravel themselves and dissolves as you plummet ever nearer to the blazing white heart of the cosmic whirlpool. Then, at the moment you plunge into its core, your senses are obliterated, and you are engulfed with total darkness. Are they territories or states? We have 6 states, 2 territories. Well, two proper territories, and then, like, tiny little overseas island that doesn't really do anything. It would be like saying Guam is a US territory, but there are, like, the real territories are Washington and what's the island down and right in the Caribbean that you have? Is it because the one that they talk about giving it statehood, but they never do. That sort of difference. Puerto Rico? Yeah. Okay. Rapidly, the pain melts away as you are protected from the crushing grip of the vortex. You are engulfed by total darkness. From out of the depths of this cold, dark universe, there appears a pinpoint of light. You feel yourself being drawn inexorably towards it, and although you struggle to resist, you cannot tear yourself free from its irresistible pull. You feel yourself accelerating towards the speck until it becomes as large as a glowing sun. Then, with an abruptness that leaves you gasping, there is a flash of blue-white light, and you find yourself lying spread-eagled upon a bed of moist green foliage. With mixed feelings of fear and fascination, you forge open your eyes and gaze upon your alien surroundings. At first, it seems as if you have fallen into a humid, green-walled cell, illuminated by a solitary lantern, which is at the apex of a fluted chimney-like ceiling. Then, slowly, your mind makes sense of the sights and smells, and the realization of where you are makes you shiver with dread. You have landed inside the corolla tube of some gigantic flower. That's actually a word? Yeah, it's genuinely a word. You say Corolla to me, and I think of the Toyota Corolla. Which is a little bubble car sort of thing. I don't think of plants, but clearly I'm just a witless Philistine. Huge stamens rise up to the light from a sticky, bowl-shaped floor on which you lie, and nearby there is a large, chute-like tunnel. That's what the Toyota Corolla was named after? I don't think so. Chute-like tunnel which drops away into the plant's hollow stem. For a moment you close your eyes and let your psychic senses explore the strange environment. Your greatest fear is that you have been drawn through the Shadow Gate to the Plains of Darkness, the supernatural realm of the dark god Na, yet you detect no abnormally high concentration of evil. Also, you are able to sense the presence of your adversary, Wolfsbane. Your hopes rise when suddenly you realize that you are still somewhat within the material universe of Aeon. You are able to determine that this alien place is not your homeworld, yet you are certain that it is a planet that lies within the same galaxy as Magnamund. You cling to this small crumb of comfort and resolve to find a way of returning to Magnamund as quickly as possible. You open your eyes and stare around the walls of your plant prison, searching for a means of escape. There are only two ways out: by climbing a stamen towards the light, high above, or by sliding down the nearby chute, which plunges deep into the plant's stem. If you wish to climb a stamen, turn to here. If you wish to slide down, up or down? I think up. That's where the light was. The thick trunk-like stamen is covered in fine hairs, which help you to make the long climb towards the amber-coloured light far above. However, as you get nearer to the light, the stamen hairs become coated in lumps of sticky, sweet-smelling yellow pollen. The pollen clusters hamper your progress, and as you struggle to unglue yourself from them, every time you shift position. You are nearing the stamen bud's top when you become aware of a distant buzzing sound. Rapidly, the noise gets louder until you are suddenly plunged into semi-darkness. A huge winged insect is hovering directly above you, its multicolored body blotting out most of the pale amber sky. It lunges back and forth with its great head, as it sucks away clumps of pollen from the surrounding stamens with its long, spear-like proboscis. Then the creature detects your presence, and the deafening noise of its wings changes pitch. It rises several feet above the stamen and hovers there for a few moments while it studies you with its massive composite eyes. Unfortunately, it takes only a few seconds for the creature to decide that it wants to vary its diet of pollen. With a sinister nod of its head, it extends its proboscis and stabs its sticky point towards your unprotected back. If you wish to attempt to defend yourself from the creature, turn here, or if you wish to dodge, turn here. Fight! The gigantic insect detects movements when it is expecting none, and immediately it senses a threat to its safety. Swiftly, it retracts its proboscis and rises several feet, taking its vulnerable belly beyond the reach of your sword arm. It hovers motionlessly for a few seconds, its glinting fly-like eyes watching you intently. Then it emits a high-pitched shriek, and at once you know that it is getting ready to attack. If you have advanced animal mastery, the skill that we just took for this book, and wish to use it to repel the creature, turn here. Your powers prove very effective. It's super effective! The giant insect obeys your command not to attack, but before it flies away, it sprays the stamen with a misty vapor which causes the petals to close up. Hurriedly, you retreat along the stamen and narrowly avoid being crushed to death as the huge petals fold in on themselves. Your innate Kai discipline of animal mastery has saved you from a confrontation with the giant insect, yet the creature has used its own innate abilities to thwart your chances of escaping from the plant as well. The vapor condenses and runs along the stamen, making it difficult for you to maintain your grip, and reluctantly you are forced to retreat all the way down to the bowl of the corolla, to where the hollow stem is now the only chance you have of getting out of the plant alive. Okay, so we should have just tried to go downwards to begin with, but whatever. You lower yourself carefully into the hollow stem and soon discover that it drops away very steeply. It is a vertical tube for most of its length, yet you are able to slow your rate of descent by grabbing hold of tiny tendrils protruding from the walls lining the stem. As you get nearer to its base, the stem wall becomes semi-transparent and slick with moisture. You press your face to its warm surface and are able to discern other stems. They look like the trunks of trees in a dense green forest. You look down to see that the stem of this plant is descending into darkness. The darkness begins at the point where the stem passes below ground level. You decide to stop at this point, for you have no desire to explore the roots of this strange flower. Carefully, you examine the fabric of the semi-transparent stem. If you can force your way through the plant wall, you'll be able to escape from your prison-like tube. If you have a bladed weapon or a bladed special item, if you have magic, if you have other magic, or if you have none of these. Let's go with magic. You press the index finger of your right hand against the plant and whisper the words of the Brotherhood spell, Lightning Hand. You feel a tingling sensation run down your arm, and then a crackling flame ignites at your fingertip, which burns a neat hole through the stem. Quite suddenly, the sap within the plant wall catches fire, and within seconds you find yourself trapped inside a roaring cocoon of fire. The highly flammable sap feeds the flames, and the temperature rapidly increases until on the inside of the stem, until it becomes as hot as a blazing furnace. Unless you possess Grand Nexus, take 5 hit points, but we do have advanced immunity to temperature, so suck it. You leap from the rent in the plant wall and land safely on a mound of soft black earth. As you struggle to your feet, you notice that this rich soil forms a narrow clearing between the base of the plant and the stems of many others, all of a similar species. Their colossal stalks soar into a dimly amber sky, where gigantic flowering heads bend and sway in a humid breeze. Staring at the awe-inspiring canopy hundreds of feet above makes you feel incredibly small and vulnerable, like a tiny insect. This feeling is made worse when suddenly a huge horse-sized beetle comes careening through the plant stems. Instinct and quick thinking saves your skin. Instantly you freeze, and the shiny black monstrosity ignores you and continues its chaotic rampage through this forest of gigantic plants. It is several moments before your pulse slows down, and your senses detect a distant source of energy, some ways away to the north. You cannot discern its nature or purpose, but you feel compelled to investigate. Guided by your tracking skill, you trek through this extraordinary forest for nearly an hour before arriving at a huge clearing where, from the cover of a fallen leaf, you gaze upon a spectacular sight. You have come to the edge of a deep canyon. The verdant walls of this massive gorge are carpeted with a rainbow of color, and the air is alive with the busy noise of huge buzzing insects. Everything is fecund and fertile, dripping with humid jungle heat. High above the gorge you glimpse, for the first time, the source of the light that illuminates this strangely wonderful realm. The canyon is set within a cavern. Yes, there are Yanmegas, the walls of which seem to engulf the sky. It explains why our attack earlier was super effective. It was against a Pokemon. At the apex there is an oval-shaped vent through which a concentrated shower of amber rays pours down, like sunbeams through a stained glass portal. You watch in awe as flights of dragonflies, each as large as a Vasagonian Itikar, circle languidly above the canyon on gossamer wings. They shimmer like streaks of liquid silver as they ride the thermal currents. The sight is one of great beauty, yet you cannot enjoy it fully. The instinct that led you to the rim of the gorge tells you that the source of power you seek lies several miles away and above, beyond the vent that is the source of this chamber's light. Carefully, you consider your predicament and determine that in order to escape, you must reach the vent that lies more than 1,000 feet above the rim of the gorge. If you have magic, and wish to use it, and have attained a high enough rank, turn to here. If you have magic, and wish to use it, but have not attained a high enough rank, turn here. If you have neither of these, or don't want to use your magic, I have magic and am high ranked. Drawing on your newly acquired magic, you focus on the distant vent, and carefully recite the words of the Brotherhood spell Teleport. For a few seconds, your vision swims in and out of focus, as your strength is sapped by the power of the spell. Take 4 hit points. Then your sight becomes crystal clear, and you feel yourself floating upwards through the air towards the apex of this gigantic cavern. You have risen close to a mile above the canyon when suddenly you attract the unwanted attention of a gigantic dragonfly. Anxious to evade a probable attack, you concentrate harder on your destination and will yourself to accelerate. Select a number from the random number table. If you have advanced camouflage, add 1. We roll relatively well, and we have advanced camouflage. You increase the rate of your ascent and swiftly accelerate beyond the reach of the predatory dragonfly. Unable to catch up to you, it emits a loud buzz of frustration and then slowly spirals away. You glance down to see it satisfying its appetite in an attack upon a number of smaller dragonflies. From this height, they appear to be no larger than a cluster of colourful dots hovering above the centre of the Great Gorge. After several minutes, you reach the apex of the cavern and soar into the light-filled vent. Upon entering this vast aperture, you are buffeted by crosswinds that sweep you precariously towards its rocky lip. Yet your Kai mastery and your lightning-swift reactions save you from being crushed to death, as you are blown onto its jagged volcanic edge. Dragonflies are basically natural helicopters. They are exceptionally good at flying. They can do all 6 degrees of freedom. They have extremely good vision. They are extremely good hunters. They are rather wondrous creatures. You survive the impact and are able to haul yourself out of the vent and climb safely onto a surface that you assume to be a roof of the cavern. Seeking shelter from the raging crosswinds, you squeeze yourself into a hollow in the porous rock from where you are able to take stock of your new surroundings. The sight makes you gasp, for it is a view that truly rivals the fertile wonders of the caverns below. Before your disbelieving eyes, there spreads a vast volcanic landscape, punctuated by mountainous dunes of blue-grey sand and columns of towering rock. The amber sky is mottled and banded like the eye of an angry tiger, and within its fathomless reaches you count 12 multicolored moons. These glowing spheres cast their light upon the burnt and crusty soil, lending it a ghostly aspect. Thick clouds, black and turgid, swollen with humid vapours, rear up like shadowy castles on the far horizon. You can feel coarse grains of sand in the stinging crosswind, and your senses warn that a storm is fast approaching. Seeking safer shelter from the coming storm, you get to your feet and cast your eyes across the warm yet unwelcoming land. Away to your right, lying less than a mile distant, within a shallow basin of age-worn rock, you see a monstrous temple crafted from opaque black glass. Spikes of crystal embellish its many tiers, and atop the highest level there stands a tower, tall and sleek. A square of yellow light marks an open portal at the tower's base. You glimpse something standing in the doorway, and when you magnify your vision, you see that it is a cloaked warrior silhouetted against the portal's fiery glow. Your pulse quickens the instant you recognize the warrior. Your pulse quickens the instant you recognize the warrior. It is your accursed adversary, Wolfsbane. The compelling urge to move northwards that you felt shortly after you broke free from the plant stem returns to your senses. You feel drawn towards the temple as if being summoned by a force beyond this world. Your sixth sense screams danger, and every fibre of your being knows you should resist. But you suppress these natural instincts and set off towards the temple. The towering edifice holds many dangers. Of that you are in no doubt. Yet bravely you resolve to confront and overcome them. Only by doing so could you hope to triumph over your enemy and find a way back to your home of Magnamond. During your task you have to eat unless you have Grand Hunt Mastery or take damage. We'll eat a proper meal rather than hunting. By the time you reach the base of the temple, the storm is howling like a vengeful demon in your ears. Stinging blasts of hot, sand-laden wind whip your face mercilessly, and you are forced to leap almost horizontally into the storm, or to lean almost horizontally into the storm to maintain your balance. The storm is increasing in ferocity by the minute. You are sorely aware that you must find cover within the hour, or you will perish in this hellish blizzard. An empty parapeted stairway ascends from the temple's lowermost tier to the portal of its crowning tower. The parapet offers you protection from the wind, and you climb the many steps bent over almost on your hands and knees in order to stay out of the abrasive storm. Before you ascend the last tier, you check to make sure that your adversary is not waiting in ambush. The portal is now closed, and you can sense no living creature nearby. Yet you unsheath your weapon from your belt and hold it ready, in case danger should come from an unsuspecting quarter. When you reach the portal, you discover that it comprises a seamless sheet of lead-lined iron, many inches thick. You detect a lingering aura of magic about the threshold that makes you wary that a trap may have been set. Yet, when you summon your psychic skills to probe deeper, you sense otherwise. You detect that Wolfsbane has deliberately cast an illusion of magic around the portal, no doubt in the hope that it will delay or otherwise deter you long enough for the storm to do its work. Confident that the door is not lethal, you examine it more closely. Set flush into the glassy surface of its... One sec. Set flush into the glassy surface of its surrounding arc, you discover an inscription above 2 squares of dull crimson gemstone. Your sixth sense reveals that tapping each of the squares the correct number of times will cause the door to open. Cautiously, you place your fingers lightly upon the squares and feel the gentle vibration of the door's locking mechanism. By concentrating on the vibrations, you hope to decipher its locking codes. After several minutes, you determine that the first code is equal to the endurance points score, below which a master cannot use the discipline of Kai Search. The second code is equal to the number of villages that lie on the highway between the cities of Holmgard and Ragaddorn. Notepad time. Okay. Notepad says the number of cities between Holmgard and Ragaddorn. One, two, three. 3 be the number of cities. Okay. And the first code is equal to the endurance points score, below which a master cannot use Psi Search. So we don't go to the map. Instead we go here. Disciplines. This. Grandmasters cannot use Psi Surge if their endurance score falls to 6. So 63. No! Okay, I don't know what I did wrong. Unable to decipher the code, you decide instead to attempt to dismantle the locking mechanism. Using the buckle of your belt, you work it between the gemstones and attempt to prise them away. It is a difficult and delicate procedure, made doubly so by the increasing ferocity of the storm, tearing through the fabric of your cloak. Take 3 hit point damage. After several minutes, you succeed in lifting off the gemstone plates. But this doesn't actually release the locking mechanism. It just exposes it to the elements. In order to force the door, you must open. You must now physically destroy the exposed mechanism. Conduct combat in the usual manner. Any endurance points lost is a result of the prolonged exposure to the storm. It has absurdly good skill, but somehow we can psychically attack the door lock. Let's not ask questions. Second roll, we roll a critical success, so we insta-kill the door. If you succeed in reducing the door's endurance to 0, or below, before dying, turn here. The moment you destroy the mechanism, you feel a shuddering vibration run through the great iron portal. Slowly it grinds open to reveal an antechamber that is lit by a dozen flaming torches set around its glassy walls. The wind has now become so fierce that it is ripping your exposed flesh. Rather than remain outside in the storm a moment longer, you hurry through the open portal and seek shelter within. The iron portal grinds to a close behind your back, shutting out the storm so completely that the roar of the wind instantly disappears. The abrupt silence and lower air pressure within the entry chamber makes your ears pop painfully. You lower the hood of your cloak and carefully wipe the sand from your eyes before taking your first tentative steps across the antechamber and its polished glass floor. You pass through a triangular arc and jump down a ramp that leads to an echoing hallway. The floor and walls of this broad hall are fashioned from a black glassy mineral that is veined with fluorescent greens and sickly purples. You sense strong pulses of psychic power radiating from an open arch at the far side of the hall, and your skin prickles with the presentiment of danger. You unsheath your weapon and move towards the arch with the utmost caution. You are expecting the unexpected. Beyond the arch lies a steep ramp that descends to the floor of a circular chamber, the lowest level of the tower, which soars into the stormy sky above. Runes of alien design run around the seamless glassy walls, and the air is heavy with the sweet smell of decay. A large circular plinth stands in the center of the chamber, its mirror-smooth surface a little under 3 feet from the floor. You take a step forwards, and suddenly... You take a step towards it, and suddenly it is surrounded by a wall of fierce blue flames that shoot upwards from tiny vents in the floor, about its base. As these flames gradually subside, you see 4 Kai Masters cowering upon the plinth. They are the 4 young disciples you thought you'd left safely behind on the old necropolis in Taiso. They look petrified with fear. And when they see you, they throw up their blistered, black-sooted hands and plead for you to release them from their fiery prison. Drawing upon your skills of Psy-Screen, you detect that the image is nothing more than a cruel illusion. In the very next instant, the ramp on which you are standing suddenly drops away under your feet. You throw yourself to one side and crash down on the floor of the chamber, rolling over as you strike the hard surface to lessen the shock of impact. As you stagger to your feet... As you stagger to your feet, you see the image of the 4 Kai being consumed by the fire. It is a frightful sight, and as they scream their last, a wave of hostile psychic energy crashes into your mind. If you have advanced mental defense skill, turn here. The sudden and unexpected ferocity of the psychic assault makes you fall to your knees and clasp your head. The pain is worming its way deep into your mind, causing your body to convulse with psychic shock. Dimly, through a red haze, you sense that the platinum amulet you're wearing around your neck affords you some defense against this attack, though it does not protect you completely. Roll the random number table for every level of mastery you have above this rank. Add 1. You may only add 5. We add 5. We roll 5, so we do perfect. You gather your psychic defenses and construct a wall around your mind to protect yourself from the agonizing mental assault. Your strategy is swiftly effective and costs you but a fraction of your remaining reserves of psychic energy. Take a hit point damage. The assault has been one of the strongest you have ever experienced. Yet you survive. Though your Kai senses tell you that the ordeal has not ended, it has only just begun. You force open your eyes and look with dread at the terrible threat which now confronts you. From the uppermost reaches of the tower there descends an icy fog, which radiates an intensely powerful evil aura. The menacing mist darkens as it swirls around the lower levels, like some huge vaporous snake seeking out its prey. Then, slowly, it gathers in towards the center of the chamber, where it hangs above the plinth like an angry thunderhead, roiling and seething with colossal malevolence. You gaze into this black cloud, and are gripped by an abject terror the instant you fathom its nature and purpose. The cloud is not of this world, and it is not fully taken on substance, nor being within this material plane. Yet, even in this malformed state, you recognize that it is a materialization of the ultimate evil. This is a manifestation of Na, the King of Darkness. Suddenly, a deafening clap of thunder shakes the walls and base of the tower, lit up by crackling arcs of electricity. The freezing air seethes with tension as the presence of Na triggers explosive chemical imbalances within you. Really? Then, above the crackling cacophony of noise, you hear a chilling voice speak to you in your native tongue. Disciple of Kai, you know my name. Will you not deign to speak it? Morbid terror is ripping at your insides, yet you refuse to show the slightest trace of weakness. You steel yourself, and inwardly you pray to Kai and Ashia to protect you in this hour of deep need. No, you scream. I will never acknowledge you. You may be one of Kai's favorite minions, retorts the voice, but you will always be mortal. You would do well to remember that in my presence. Thunder booms and the floor shakes beneath your feet, causing you to fall involuntarily to your knees. Now that you bow before me, I will impart to you your fate, for I am the true master of your world. Well, of your material plane. This is Avaros, a small and insignificant satellite of Duron, a world that has long been devoted to my cause. And you have been lured here with but one purpose, to be destroyed. During the speck of time that you have existed, you have become an impertinent obstacle to my conquest of Magnamond. For this you will forfeit your soul. Yet, before I claim your worthless soul, I will make sport of your demise, so that Kai and Ashia will see the worthlessness of their creations, and know the futility of their cause. Once more the thunder booms, and you are blinded momentarily by a flash of white fire. Slowly your sight returns, and now you can see your adversary, Wolfsbane, standing upon the plinth, directly under the menacing black cloud. This is my champion, speaks the voice of Na. You and he are well matched for the contest that is about to commence. Wolfsbane unsheathes his sword and levels it at your chest. His facial features twist into a grotesque parody of your own as he spits out a venomous threat. Victory will be mine, Lone Wolf. Evil will triumph. You shout a defiant riposte, but the voice of Na booms once more, drowning your worthy cry. So be it. Let the duel begin. You recover max health, okay. Nausea wells up from the pit of your stomach, as the lower chamber of the tower is suddenly transformed into a swirling spiral of violent colours and noises. You feel yourself falling forwards into the vortex. For a few fleeting seconds, you glimpse your adversary. He is brandishing his sword and laughing like a madman. His face twisted with maniacal glee as he rides this terrifying whirlwind. Then he is lost to the chaos of the maelstrom, and he vanishes from your sight. For what seems like an eternity, you spin and fall through a rainbow of colour and sound. Only gradually do you become aware that this nightmare journey is coming to an end, when the noise abates and the swirling colours begin to fade. Then with a jolt, you find yourself standing ankle-deep in the stagnant green water, struggling to keep your balance. You draw your weapon and scan your surroundings, fearful of a sudden attack, but you soon realize this is not the case. You appear to be standing under the ground, in a crude, sewer-like tunnel which has been excavated by primitive means. The roots of trees protrude from its beaten earth ceiling, and there is a stale and unpleasant smell of rotting vegetation. You use your psychic skills to probe for Wolfsbane. You cannot detect his presence, and so you sheathe your weapon and relax your guard. The encounter with the manifestations of Na has left you feeling a fear and anxiety as you draw comfort from your faith in the god Kai and Ashia. You offer up a prayer to them and to watch over you during the coming trials of strength. and vow that you will never lose hope, no matter what dangers you may yet face. As if in answer to your prayer, you feel a sudden surge of energy flow through your body, revitalizing your mind and senses, restore any damage that you have taken during the adventure so far. Alert and confident, you peer along the gloomy trail in both directions, trying to determine the best course forward. Neither way looks especially appealing. Tunnel? Tunnel. We advance. The damp subterranean tunnel meanders for nearly a mile before entering a cavern, which is lit by rays of insipid sunlight permeating through holes in the root-entangled ceiling. Your natural pathmanship warns you the slimy water is deep at the center of the cavern, and as you enter, you take extra care where you tread. 30 yards opposite, there is a sloping tunnel that appears to ascend towards the surface. Dim light illuminates its dry, earthen floor. You approach, keeping near to the cavern wall to avoid the deep water. But you've only taken a few paces when suddenly noise jars your nerves. Sorry. Oh, okay. With a dull boom, a concealed portcullis falls from the ceiling to seal off the tunnel through which you have come. Moments later, swirling eddies form in the water. At the center of the cavern, and with a hissing splash, a huge snaky head breaks through the surface and rises up to scrape at the ceiling. Around its branded neck is a collar of iron, which is attached to the heavy chain. The chain disappears below the water, keeping the creature a prisoner in the cavern. You gasp as you look into the eyes of the gigantic serpent, for they radiate waves of evil that seem to place a chill into your very soul. If you have super animal mastery and have advanced enough ranks, turn here. Okay, picking animal mastery has definitely been the correct choice for this book so far. Using your advanced animal mastery, you are able to project the image of the creature's most feared adversary into its mind's eye. The huge serpent reacts violently. It twirls in place, twirls and wrenches its own collar. Sorry. The huge serpent reacts violently. It twists and wrenches at its iron collar in a desperate attempt to break free from its bonds. Its great body, which is studded with tiny barbed thorns, although it says horns, thrashes the water into a stinking foam as it writhes back and forth in front of the tunnel exit. Your psychic protection has the creature terrified, but in its state of near panic, it will be difficult for you to reach the tunnel and escape. If you have magic, turn here. You concentrate upon the entrance to the tunnel as you recite the words of the spell Teleport. You feel the power building deep within your body, a power you are able to contain until the moment comes to release it. As soon as the writhing giant serpent twists away from the tunnel mouth, you channel the spell's energy into propelling you across the tavern. Within seconds, you are able to reach the safety of the exit and make your escape unscathed. The use of the spell is draining. Take 5 hit point damage. You follow the tunnel as it ascends towards the surface. A dot of daylight appears in the distance, which, as you climb towards it, becomes a cluster of bright sunbeams filtering through a curtain of vines. The fringe of emerald streamers. This fringe of emerald streamers conceals the cave mouth entrance to the tunnel. The tunnel itself becomes increasingly humid as you get near the exit. The dry earth floor has gradually transformed into a slick and treacherous surface, alive with beetles and centipedes, some as long as daggers. Upon reaching the cave mouth, you stop to peer through the hanging through the hanging vines. Outside, in the fiercely tropical heat, you can see a dense jungle sweltering beneath a blazing sun. It extends in every direction towards a jagged horizon of volcanic mountain peaks. Then your eye is caught by something small and metallic glinting in the mulch of vegetation that carpets the entrance. You pick it up and put it in your purse, and discover that it is a brass button engraved with a sun motif, identical to the buttons that adorn your own tunic, none of which are missing. You deduce that this must come from the tunic of your adversary, though you cannot be sure if it was lost accidentally or placed here deliberately for you to find. If you want to search for further clues, turn here. If you want to leave the jungle and leave the tunnel and explore the jungle. Yeah, I don't want to be in the tunnel. As you emerge from the tunnel, the oppressive jungle heat hits you like a sledgehammer. Your Magna Chi discipline of Nexus automatically regulates your body temperature. Yet, even so, it comes as a shock that any living creature can exist in this hellish environment. Unfortunately, the shock of the jungle heat is only the first of many surprises that await you. The next is a barbed arrow that whistles from out of the dense foliage and is speeding towards your forehead. If you have magic and have a high enough rank, we can use shield. No, halt missile. Frantically, you shout the words of the Brotherhood spell, halt missile, and point at the onrushing arrow. The deadly shaft freezes in mid-flight, a few inches from the tip of your extended finger. Immediately, you crouch down, and as the effects of the spell wear off, the shaft suddenly animates and whistles over your head to lodge itself in the tangle of vines behind the curtain. Your eagle eyes pinpoint the place where the arrow emerged from the jungle perimeter, and when you magnify your vision, you see the face of your enemy, Wolfsbane, partially hidden by a tree. He laughs, his teeth showing white against the dark green of the jungle, and then he springs to his feet and disappears into the undergrowth. Determined to not let him escape so easily, you break into a run and give chase. You force your way through the dense tangle of plants and grasses, and soon reach the place where Wolfsbane lays in wait for you. The foliage around this hiding place has been carefully arranged, which suggests that he must have spent some considerable time setting up his ambush. Yet there is also evidence of a hasty retreat. Lying on the ground behind a tree, you discover 2 arrows and a dagger, which you could yoink. Determined to stay on his trail while it is still fresh, you pocket what you can and proceed in pursuit of the enemy. However, you have penetrated less than 20 yards into the undergrowth when his trail becomes indistinct. I do not have super pathmanship, so the other option, so the unskilled option, you use your tracking skills to find the enemy's trail. However, it becomes increasingly difficult. You sense that he has used magic to assist his escape. Your progress is slowed, but eventually you reach a copse of toa trees, where you can hear the sound of running water. Your adversary, Yuna? Your adversary's tracks turn in this direction, and you follow them into the portal. Less than 50 yards downstream, there is a primitive settlement of huts that form an untidy line along the edge of the stream. The tracks appear to lead to this settlement, but you see no sign of Wolfsbane. Stay and observe, or continue your pursuit, and approach the settlement under the cover of jungle. Warily, you approach the settlement, your senses absorbing every detail. The line of deserted mud huts looks innocuous, but the words of the voice of Na still linger in your memory. Warily you approach this settlement, yet with your keen senses absorbing every detail. The line of deserted mud huts looks innocuous, but the words of the voice of Na still linger in your memory. This humid jungle realm lies within his domain, and it is therefore reasonable to expect that the inhabitants of this place will be devoted to the cause of evil. You reach the edge of the undergrowth and pause to assess potential threats. The huts are semi-derelict, all bearing some signs of neglect and decay. The newest one is a clay-tipped tiled hovel, which, like the others, appears to be empty. But when you focus upon the open doorway, you see that a trench has been cut into its earth floor. You magnify your vision, and at once you detect steps in the wall of this excavation which lead underground. If you wish to enter the hut and investigate, or if you want to check the hut for traps, everything that we've seen so far is traps, so we'll look for traps. You approach the hut and crouch down beside its mud wall, close to the door opening. Your senses detect no glyphs or other traps, and there are no residues of magical energy that would betray the presence of illusions or shielding spells. However, your Kai senses do pick up a strong aura of evil lingering at the door of the hut. No, I like that. You move around to the rear of this hovel and discover that the bank is deeply undercut, where the soft earth has been eroded by the fast-flowing stream. Standing in a line in the shadow of the undercut are a dozen wooden cages, each containing a fleshless skeleton. A shiver runs down your spine as you use the Magnakai discipline of divination and detect the lingering agonies of these luckless victims. They suffered cruelly at the hands of the natives of the settlement before their final death. The shock of your discovery is unnerving. Lose 1 hit point. You leave the stream and return to the front of the hut. Inside the open doorway, you discover several fruits stacked into a mound on a mat of woven rushes. Somewhat to your surprise, your senses tell you that the fruit is nutritious and therefore safe to eat. There are enough fruit for 3 meals. I mean, I have space for a meal. Do I want the meals? I don't want the meals. We're already full. We're already full of potions. Wary of further delay, you approach the trench at the center of the hut. Your tracking skills locate the enemy's tracks, leading down a flight of steps, and quickly you follow them into the underground tunnel. You have gone but a few yards along the passageway when suddenly you hear the terrifying roar of a large cat. With an abruptness that takes your breath away, a huge tiger-like beast comes bounding out from the darkness. So suddenly and unexpected is the attack that you only have just enough time to unsheath your hand weapon as it hurls itself upon you. It is immune to psychic attacks, but not only the weakest of psychic attacks. Insta-kill. Your killing blow fells the feline horror, bringing it crashing nose first to the dirt floor. The body of the beast almost blocks the passageway. forcing you to clamber over it in order to reach the other side. You are struggling across its still warm carcass when you notice a thick leather collar buckled around its throat. Affixed to the buckle is a curious black letter. The black clasp. Well, we take it with us. Affixed to the buckle is a curious black clasp. If you wish to take it, mark it as a special item. At the end of the passage, you discover another tunnel that leads off to the left. The walls and ceiling of this adjacent passageway are dripping wet, indicating that it passes directly above the stream. You stride along its narrow confines, your shoulder grazing the muddy walls as you advance up a flight of stairs that leads to another archway supported by thick wooden beams. Beyond the arch lies a subterranean chamber that is dabbed and decorated with runes and evil insignia. It is a primitive temple, and it radiates an aura of evil so vile and malicious that the thought of entering makes your skin crawl. On the far side of this unholy place, you see a stone altar standing before a huge boulder that has been crudely chiseled to resemble a grinning human skull. An eerie green glow pulsates from the eye sockets of this great rock skull, and a mist swirls from its open jaw. Wolfsbane stands before the altar, an arrogant sneer spreading slowly across his face. I'd expected better sport from you, Lone Wolf. You disappoint me, but no matter. Such easy triumph proves the worthiness of my master's cause. I bid you farewell. A final farewell. And with those chilling words ringing in your ears, your enemy stretches out both of his hands and takes hold of two iron staves that protrudes from the ground on either side of the skull rock's jaw. He jerks them out of their settings and casts them into the center of the temple. Then, with a patronizing smile, salute, he turns and enters the jaws, swiftly disappearing into the swirling mist. The dull boom of an explosion somewhere in the rocks above makes your heart miss a beat. Moments later, the walls begin to shake and the floor shudders violently, throwing you off balance. Rocks and earth cascade from the roof and fissures tear open on the ground. With fear running ice cold in your veins, you begin a desperate race to reach the mouth of the skull rock before the entire roof collapses and you are buried alive in this temple. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have Hunt Mastery, add 2. For every rank that you have attained above Sun Knight, add 1. Random number table says really, really, really high number, plus my other skills. Guided by your advanced Kai instincts, you avoid the rain of debris without too much difficulty and reach the entrance of the Skull Rock unscathed. Without any hesitation, you enter the misty portal in pursuit of your enemy, and barely seconds later there is a tremendous explosion and the entire temple ceiling collapses. The moment you enter the mouth, you are engulfed by a dense fog that is icy cold and impenetrable to your sight and other senses. The thunderous noise of the temple's destruction ends abruptly, as if a great big door had been suddenly slammed shut upon it. You strain your Kai skills the maximum, in pursuit of Wolf's Bane, but to no avail. The ivory white fog hides everything, swamping and distorting your senses of time and direction. You keep moving, forcing yourself onwards, even though the surface beneath your feet has become vicious and uncertain. After what seems like an eternity spent wandering through this cloudy limbo, you gradually feel the ground hardening and sense that the impenetrable fog is beginning to dissipate. Patches of grey appear in the creamy whiteness. The fog begins to dissolve completely, and you find yourself standing in the middle of a rubble-strewn street, surrounded by the bleak and derelict remains of a decaying alien city. It is the dead of night, and a fine drizzle falls from a storm-laden sky, dampening this dreary landscape. Everywhere you look, you see the hollow shells of buildings. They are heaped with mounds of broken stone, twisted, rusty, and shattered glass. There are no trees. There are no blades of grass. No animals. Everything is cold, grey, and dead. You examine the paved surface of the street and detect your enemy's footprints. They are fresh and lead to a small courtyard flanked by two buildings. A large municipal hall and two smaller two-story buildings. Wolfsbane's tracks end in the middle of the wet courtyard, and you sense that they have been deliberately erased. Despite your advanced hunting skills, you're unable to determine into which of the buildings your enemy has escaped. Let's go into the fancier building. The once grand doors of the hall are no longer hanging upon their hinges. They have been torn down and now lie twisted and rusted together, partially blocking the entrance. After checking to make sure that your adversary has not left any unwelcome surprises, you clamber over the ruined doors and begin a cautious exploration of the hall's gloomy interior. The cavernous ground floor was long ago gutted by fire. All that remains of its contents now lies buried beneath blackened timbers and twisting iron beams. Metal chains hang in festoons from the buckled roof girders, dripping icicles of rust. They sway and squeal eerily in the wind, sending shivers coursing down your spine. You detect nothing of interest in the debris and are about to abandon your search when suddenly you hear something unexpected. A dull thwomp. The sound came from below the ground. Drawing upon your hunting skills, you peer through a hole in the ruined floor and detect something large and warm-blooded. It is moving this way. I think we don't assume that the giant creature from the hole is going to be friendly. So, once outside, we focus our tracking skill and attempt to pick up the enemy's trail. You have a feeling that he may have doubled back on his tracks, and so you retrace your steps to the street where you first appeared. As soon as I left, he went down there, and he told me that it's no good because of the cameras. At the end of the alley, you discover a derelict warehouse. Fire has ravaged its interior, and much of the roof has caved in. But amongst the debris you can see that it once stored metal cylinders and coils of wire. You stop at the entrance and listen. Your caution is rewarded when you hear footsteps at the rear of the building. You draw your weapon and enter, using the debris for cover as you inch your way towards the back. You're moving between cover when suddenly you see the outline of a human form, silhouetted against a broken window. Instantly you know that it is not Wolf's Bane. It This figure is clad in grey, a close-fitting armour, and is holding a metallic spear. This realization makes you hesitate, and in the split second of indecision, the armoured figure sees you and raises its spear. A blinding flame ignites at its tip, and a beam of white-hot light comes speeding towards your chest. Pick a number from the random number table. If you possess Pathsmanship, add 3. You dive to the ground, but the white beam is lightning fast, and it still glances off your shoulder as you fall. Take 5 hit points. You bite your lip to stifle a scream of pain as you hit the warehouse floor, and then scramble for the nearest cover. A heavy iron chest, banded and riveted with steel. To avoid leaving yourself exposed to another blast. The warrior follows your swift move and discharges a second beam, which slams upon the iron chest with stunning force. You gasp with horror as you see the side of the chest bulging towards your face. Its thick rivulets tremble, and its age-blackened skin smoulders with a sullen heat. Instinct takes over, making you roll away from the iron chest and seek cover elsewhere. As you move, the beam of light tears through the rear of the iron box and destroys the ground where, only moments before, your face had been. You call upon all of your camouflage skills to mask your body as you hurriedly seek a way to escape the warrior and his sorcerous weapon. You reach the base of a large steel tank and scramble up a ladder fixed to its side. The top of the tank is stacked high with coiled ropes, and you force yourself in amongst them. A few moments later, you watch the warrior approach the smouldering remains of his iron chest. He is close enough now that you see that his weapon is attached by a length of steel cable to a canister strapped at his back. If you have a bow and skill, with bated breath you watch as the warrior kicks the smouldering remains of the iron chest. He scans the warehouse, the visor of his helmet pulsing a dull crimson as he tries to locate where you're hiding. Unable to find you, he cradles his weapon and begins a systematic search of the building. As he passes beneath the storage tank, you seize the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. You leap onto his back and bring him crashing to the ground. However, you soon discover that he is an exceptionally strong opponent, and your surprise advantage is quickly lost. He draws his power from the armor he wears, and you are hard-pressed to maintain your hold on his neck as he wrestles to break free. And then another warrior appears at the rear of the body. Okay, so this is some sort of boys-only club, seemingly. Then another warrior appears at the rear of the building. He too is armed with a magical spear. He aims his weapon at you and a flash of light erupts from its tip. Pick a number from the random number table. If your current endurance is really low, roll even worse. We didn't succeed at rolling 0. You release your grip of your enemy and roll away. Moments later, the beam of his comrade's weapon hits his side and erupts through the back of his armor. The force of the impact lifts him bodily from the floor and hurls him into a pile of rusty cylinders, bringing them crashing down and burying him. Shocked and angry at having accidentally killed his confederate, the newly arrived warrior rushes forwards. He's determined to find you and finish you off once and for all. But his anger and his armor put him at a disadvantage. He fails to see where you have gone, and under the cover of the smoke and debris you manage to circle around behind him without being seen. If you have magic, turn here. You utter the words of the Brotherhood spell Lightning Hand and loose a powerful beam of your own at the back of the running warrior. It tears open the canister strapped between his shoulders. With the sudden eruption of blue-white light, he is hurled upon the cylinders that cover his slain comrade. For a few seconds, a spidery net of pulsating light enshrouds the two lifeless warriors. Then it crackles and disappears, leaving behind an acrid stench of scorched metal and roast meat. Cautiously, you approach the slain warriors. You are eager to examine their strange armor, and you are particularly curious about the lightning-emitting spears. Weapons such as these would prove useful in your fight against Wolfsbane. However, on examining their steely shafts, you discover they are useless. The source of their power was contained in the canisters, a power which is now depleted. When you prise open a helmet and breastplate, you discover a thin, pale-skinned humanoid. His bone structure and muscularity is surprisingly weak for a warrior, prompting you to suspect he must have relied heavily on his powerful, power-fed armor for strength and protection. This sallow-faced soldier has a lean and brutal appearance, a look which resembles that of an emaciated Drakkar. After having satisfied yourself that there is nothing worth salvaging from the bodies of the two slain enemies, you make a cursory check of your own equipment. You are hungry, and unless you have Super Hunt, eat or suffer damage. Then we eat. Having satisfied your curiosity and also your appetite, you hurry out of the derelict warehouse by the rear door and continue to hunt for Wolfsbane. The rest of the warehouse opens into a wasteland of shattered rubble, which is bisected by a dreadstorm. You trudge across the bleak and forbidding landscape, past sharp spires of crimson and jet that erupt through the dereliction to scratch the cloudy skies. Rust-red water encircles their bases, lending them a wholly sinister aspect. To your eyes, it seems as if this blighted city has been impaled upon these cruel, towering spikes. Beyond the spikes, you discover a paved street clear of debris. You find several sets of footprints there, and your hopes are raised when you determine that one of them belongs to Wolfsbane. You follow them to a gutted building several stories high, which is adorned with strangely angular gargoyles. The inside of this crumbling edifice is completely empty, and your adversary's trail passes through the rear exit. As you emerge on the far side, you catch your first breathtaking glimpse of this Grimm's city's tallest structure. Before you stands a great tower of gleaming black stone, which rises from the depths of a fathomless moat and soars to within 100 feet of the stormy grey clouds. Its pitted surface bristles with metal discs and antennae, streaked with rust. Yet there are few windows, and you can see but one portal. You magnify your vision and note that the adversary's tracks lead to a traffic-worn area on the side of the moat, directly opposite the portal. You watch this area for several minutes, and then you see two armor-clad warriors emerge from the ruins and approach it. Suddenly, a semi-transparent drawbridge extends from beneath the portal. It resembles a flattened beam of solid grey-green light, and the beam bridges the moat and provides the warriors with a means to reach the open tower door. You scan the great tower with your senses and feel that your opponent is lurking somewhere within. Powerless to reach him, you can only stand and watch the two warriors as they cross the moat and disappear into the portal, which then slides shut behind them. At first glance, the stronghold looks impregnable, but you have gained access to tougher fortresses in the past and refuse to allow your spirits to be dampened by this daunting task. For 2 hours, you observe the tower. During this time, you sense that an invisible field of energy surrounds the wall, a defense that complements the terrifyingly deep moat. The force field disappears only when the portal opens, and the drawbridge extends to allow for the arrival or departures of armored warriors. And strange, horseless wagons that hover a few feet from the ground. But in the main, the great door remains firmly closed. You notice that the sparse traffic of warriors and wagons passes along one avenue. It is the only thoroughfare approaching the tower, which has been cleared of debris. There is an uncomfortable vigil, but the time you spend observing the tower is rewarded when a bold plan takes form in your mind. You assess that entry to the tower could be effected by 2 means: if you were able to ambush a warrior and use his armor as a disguise, or were you to stow away aboard one of the wagons approaching the moat. Stow away on the hover wagon. You make your way towards the avenue and take cover in the dark alleyway, an ideal place from which to observe passing traffic. 30 minutes elapse before another hopper wagon glides into view at the city end of the avenue. Bound for the tower, you note that its cargo compartment is completely sealed. And so, you have to decide to let it pass, and with what? It is completely sealed, and so you decide to let it pass and wait for a more suitable target. Fortunately, you don't have to wait long. Within the space of a few minutes, another appears. This one, like the first, has no driver. No. But its cargo bay is open to the elements. As you wait for it to get closer, you judge its speed and prepare yourself to leap aboard as it passes. It is less heavily laden than the first wagon, and it is moving much quicker. Leaping aboard the speeding wagon will not be easy. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have pathmanship, add 3. If your current endurance is low, deduct 2. Boop. We roll well enough. You race towards the hover wagon, and as it sweeps by, you hurl yourself towards its open cargo bay. You hit the side of the vehicle with a numbing force. Take 2 hit points damage. But you manage to keep your grip and haul yourself on board. By the time the wagon reaches the windswept moat, you've concealed yourself among the cargo of steel cylinders and bales of wire. You hear the distant clang of a bell, and from your hiding place, you are able to watch as the drawbridge extends from beneath the portal to span the deep chasm. Swiftly, the wagon passes across on the semi-transparent bridge and glides through the tower's open portal unchallenged. You hear the great portal closing behind the hover wagon. It makes surprisingly little noise for such a huge expanse of iron, barely a serpent-like hiss as it seals out the stormy city wind. You stay hidden until the wagon comes to a halt, and then you venture a glance over the side of its cargo bay to assess the situation. Before your eyes there stretches a cavernous plaza, crafted entirely of steel, glass, silver, and iron. Towering girders arc over your head, buttressed upon each other to support the many upper levels of this stupendous edifice. The plaza is vast and alien in design. It is also virtually deserted. You count no more than 6 armored warriors, some so distant that you have to magnify your vision. Ugh. Some so distant that you have to magnify your vision to be sure that they are what they seem. The arrival of the wagon attracts no special attention. The driverless craft docks of its own accord at a steel jetty that encircles an iron support pillar. The coast is clear and you waste no time in attempting to locate your adversary's trail. As expected, you find traces of his tracks close to the portal. They lead you to an archway which opens into the steel-lined chamber that has two exits. One to the left, the other to the right. Here, the tracks become indistinct, and you're unable to determine which way he went. Left. This exit leads to an echoing tunnel constructed from sheeted steel. Its walls and ceiling are lined with iron pipes and braided copper cables along most of its length. You follow the passage for several hundred yards before arriving at another that crosses from left to right. If you possess spirit walking and are high enough rank, click here. Your advanced Kai mastery reveals to you that a hoard of precious platinum is stored in a chamber at the left end of the corridor. Sure. This passage ends at a door crafted from sheeted silver inset with circles of iron. It has no handle and there appears to be no lock. You try pushing against it, but to no avail. It refuses to open. You notice a small slit cut into the frame of the door, and when you run your fingers along it, you detect the telltale vibrations of an electrical lock. However, we do not possess an iron disc. Unable to open the portal, you turn around and retrace your steps back down the other passageway. The passage ascends by a slope to a chamber that is lined with sheets of a glassy jet black mineral. A flight of iron steps ascends from here to a landing where a circular stair continues to ascend to the levels above. On a shelf, besides the opening to a circular stairway, there is a steel cage containing a small primate. It reminds you of the Kakami, the wild primates who inhabit the forest around the Kai monastery. This creature seems to recognize you, and as you approach the stairs, it begins to shriek with fear. Rather than risk drawing unwanted attention, you use your innate skills of animal control to calm and subdue the frightened creature. If you choose to release the monkey, turn here. Why not? You open the cage door and command the creature to jump into your outstretched arms. You are hoping to be able to use it as a guide. However, the primate does not cooperate. It is deeply confused. It thinks you are Wolfsbane and adamantly refuses to leave its cage. You detect that it has suffered great cruelty at the hands of the impostor, and this sudden realization strengthens your determination to find and defeat him. You take one last look at the pitiful creature before closing the cage door and continuing your exploration of the tower by way of the circular stairs. As you climb the stairs, you are filled with a growing sense of uncertainty and dread as you ponder what may yet await you in this alien tower. However, these feelings of impending doom are quickly banished when you reach the third level. For here you pick up the trail of your adversary. Your tracking skills determine that his trail is fresh and your pursuit is eager. You pass through a maze of empty passageways which lead eventually to a large circular hole. Cautiously, you approach the entrance and peer inside. Your tracking skills and your curiosity are handsomely rewarded when you see Wolfsbane. He is standing there alone, and he is unaware that you have found him. Eager to confront your enemy, but wary of walking into a trap. At first glance, he appears alone, but then you notice something curious about the hall. At the 4 points of the compass, there are rails attached to the walls. Small horizontal platforms are attached to these rails, and they move along them in a continuous procession. At the north and south, these platforms ascend through holes in the ceiling. At the west and east, they ascend through similar holes and continue through other holes cut in the floor. You suspect them to be elevators, and your suspicions are confirmed when suddenly an armored warrior appears. He is standing on a descending platform and passes through the hall and continues travelling downwards to a level somewhere below. Wolfsbane is standing with his back to you and examining a panel of glass set into the chamber wall. You magnify your vision and see that the panel displays an illuminated view of the avenue that approaches the tower. Your adversary is watching and waiting for your approach. Clearly, he is unaware that you have gained access to the tower already. Suddenly, though, something alerts him to your presence. He spins on his heels, his dark eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and loathing. He sees you at the entrance to the hall and immediately leaps upon a rising north platform in an attempt to escape. Determined not to let him get away, you enter the hall and jump onto a rising platform as well. As it passes through the ceiling of the hall, it carries you up a tall, open shaft. Wolfsbane is on the far side of the shaft, some 20 feet away. You can see his face peering over the lip of the platform on which he is standing. He mouths something that you suspect is a curse. But then he points at you with an extended hand, and a crackling arc of crimson fire leaps from his fingertips towards your face. We have the summer sword, so we draw our blade. It's a radiant halo of golden flame, which caresses its razor-sharp edge, lights the platform. We raise the sword above our head and strike out at the leading point of the approaching firebolt. There's a tremendous splash of fiery sparks as we connect with the bolt and send it arcing away to explode harmlessly against the wall of the shaft. The summer sword absorbs some of the energy of the firebolt, which it transfers to you through its hilt. Heal for 3. As your enemy's platform passes through the next level of the tower, he leaps off and disappears from view. A few moments later, when your platform reaches this level, Wolfsbane is nowhere to be seen. You step onto the circular chamber and cast your eyes around its bare metallic surfaces. There is only one exit, a narrow tunnel in the north wall. Quickly, you enter this tunnel and discover footprints in the dust, which blanket the floor. You follow the tracks, but they soon fade and then disappear completely. You stop to examine the floor, and your tracking skills tell you your adversary is deliberately masking his trail. Determined not to give up the pursuit, you break into a run and hurry along this tunnel to where it makes a sharp turn to the left. What you are seeing, filling the corridor ahead, brings you to a skidding halt. The way is blocked by a crisscrossed tangle of thick, gluey strands, anchored to the floor, walls, and ceiling. You sense that Wolfsbane has cast this magical net to ensnare and delay you, while he makes good his escape. We'll use the summer sword. Vigorously you attack the sticky strands of net with your magical sword, cleaving through them with an unexpected ease. They shrivel at the touch of the golden blade and drop in smouldering heaps to the floor of the tunnel. Within a matter of seconds, you have cut your way through and are able to continue your pursuit. Beyond the net, you rediscover your opponent's tracks. They lead you to an unlit storage chamber containing dozens of iron canisters and large steel crates. Using your ability to see in the dark, you follow his footprints as they wend their way around the obstacles and trail off towards a distant door. But before you reach the door, you are brought to an abrupt halt by a strange sound. A whirring, mechanical growl. Instinctively, you look over your shoulder in the direction of the noise and freeze with shock the moment you catch sight of the creature that is moving slowly towards your back. The first thing you see are the creature's eyes, like 2 strips of molten sulfur. They radiate a cold yellow light. Then you glimpse the outline of the angular shoulders. Its square snout and its gleaming steel forelegs. Oily drool hangs from an iron jaw which is set with jagged blades. As this shocking jaw widens, you hear the whirl of metal cogs and gears. You can be fearless in the face of foes of flesh and blood, but this steel wolf strikes terror in your heart. You turn and flee towards a distant door, praying that it will lead to a safe haven from this bloodless beast, but you reach it only to discover that it is locked. Frantically, you search for a bolt or a keyhole and find none. Then you locate 2 squares of opaque crimson. 2 squares of opaque crimson gemstones set into the wall. The squares are like those you encountered at the entrance to the Temple of Avaros, but they differ in one respect. They are separated by a slot. I still don't have an iron disc. The rasping growl of the metal wolf is steadily getting louder. The sinister sound makes your palms slick with cold sweat as you feverishly examine the door and the locking mechanism. The gemstone squares are sensitive devices which secure this door. Tapping upon each the correct number of times, you will cause the lock to disengage. You place your fingers lightly upon the squares and feel the telltale vibrations that are the key to deciphering their code. Aided by your skills, you're able to determine that the first is equal to the number of named Kurlundian islands north of Egan. So we go visit our map. Named islands north of Egan. Nothing is named Egan. Oh well, we'll just... Oh, north of Egan. Okay. So Broker, 1. I was looking for a city and looking at the city list, but the island here is named Egan. So north of this there is 1 named island. 1 and... The second is equal to the number of villages to the east of Ragadorn. Zero. So 10. Yes, this is the correct answer. The door opens with a hiss. 5. You rush forwards and immediately sidestep to place a solid wall between you and the steel monster. The door slides shut, and a few moments later you feel a shudder run through the wall as the creature slams headfirst into the portal and shatters its skull. The steel walls of the room you have entered are sheened with ice. Several tall glass canisters stand in a circle at the center of the frigid chamber, connected to one another with pipes and coils of copper cable. Cable? Their liquid contents bubble and seethe and appear to be boiling despite the freezing air temperature. You walk around them, mesmerized by the strange beauty of the roiling multicolored fluids. Then you sense imminent danger, somewhere to your right, and instantly spin around to face it, your hand reaching reflexively to the weapon at your belt. You see a dark stairwell and a shadowy shape crouched near the bottom of the steps. It is Wolfsbane. He is clutching a bow, and he has an arrow drawn ready to fire. The instant you see him, he releases his bowstring, and the tip of the arrow bursts into flame as it comes speeding towards you. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have Hunt Mastery, add 2. If your health is less than 10 or less, deduct 2. We roll well enough, plus our skill, plus the amulet of anti-projectile stuff. You leap aside to avoid the missile, yet it alters course in midair and clips your shoulder. As you fall to the frost-encrusted floor, take 2 hit points. of damage. Quickly, you scramble to your feet and look to see your opponent escaping up the darkened staircase. Calling upon your healing skills, you staunch the blood trickling freely from your wounded shoulder and hurry towards the stairs in pursuit of your foe. You climb more than 200 steps before the staircase arrives at a short tunnel, which opens into a damp, cavernous hole. This huge chamber is partitioned into pens, which house several large dragonflies, similar to the ones we encountered when we first arrived here. High above, great oblong sections of the steel roof are open to the elements, and the bases of passing storm clouds are lit up by the glow from the hall's phosphorescent lighting. You scan the rain... No. You scan the rain-swept pens for the sight of your adversary, and find him climbing upon the saddled back of a great crimson dragonfly. He urges the creature into the air, and it obeys with a stunning swiftness. You watch as Wolfsbane steers his winged mount once around the roof of the hall, and then, to your horror, bringing the creature to hover directly over your head. He steers his winged mount once around the roof of the hall, and then, to your horror, you see him bring it directly over your head. He shouts at you, but his words are lost in the buzz of the dragonfly's massive wings. He leans from the saddle and casts down a metallic box before urging his mount skywards. The box lands close by, bouncing once before coming to rest near your feet. Your heart pounds when you sense that it is a powerful bomb. A panel on the side contains several illuminated numerals that are blinking. You can see by the numbers remaining that you have only 30 seconds. Sure, we'll ride a dragonfly and escape as well. You rush to the nearest dragonfly, using your skill of animal control to subdue its hostile occupant. Reluctantly, the creature submits to your will and allows you to climb on it. It has no saddle. You're forced to grip its scaly back as best you can, as it rapidly takes to the air. Fear is running ice cold in your veins as you urge it towards the open portal in the roof, for that you know the bomb is set to explode at any moment. We roll low. You emerge through the steel roof of the tower and catch a fleeting glimpse of the rain-swept city below. Suddenly, there is a tremendous flash, closely followed by the concussive blast of a terrific explosion. This shockwave hits you from behind, leaving you feeling as if you've just been kicked in the back by an angry mule. Fortunately, your winged mount is able to ride the shockwave, which helps propel it upwards at great speed into the base of the thick black storm clouds. Let's go. The moment you pass through the storm clouds, you enter a stratosphere that is bathed with magnificent light. Of course they have floating castles. Above the city's perpetual cloud layer lies a wondrous vista, an aerial realm that is calm and clear. The golden rays from 2 suns and the reflected light from 12 satellite moons combine to bathe the thunderheads with a panoply of colour. You scan the heavens and see high above the dragonfly which is carrying Wolfsbane. It is climbing towards a castle-like fortress that seems to rest upon a base of wispy cloud, defying gravity. Your enemy's flying mount enters the castle from below, passing through a gap in the underside of its cloudy base. Upon seeing his destination, you urge your own winged mount to follow in his wake. You enter the clouds and pass through an open portal, like some massive trapdoor located in the belly of this mystical stronghold. Beyond the portal is a cavern of stone, vaulted and substantial, like the dungeons of a great castle. There is no sign of your enemy, save for his mount, which is tethered to a wooden pier. Ooh. You bring your dragonfly into land upon the pier and leap down from its back and examine the ground for tracks. You find what you are seeking, and it leads you to an archway that opens upon a landing where 3 tunnels lead off in different directions. However, to your dismay, you discover that Wolfsbane has deliberately spoiled his tracks. His footprints lead down all 3 tunnels. West, always left. The tunnels zigzag to the left and right for several hundred yards before it widens at the entrance to a long, low-ceilinged hall. The slabs of stone which have so far paved the tunnel end abruptly at the entrance to this chamber. The floor here appears to be made of a gritty brown soil that gives off a pungent, earthy aroma. You scan its surface but see no tracks. It looks perfectly smooth. We have magic, we use magic. Wary of the uncertain floor, you utter the Brotherhood's spell words for levitate, and feel yourself rising slowly towards the ceiling. Using the gaps between the bricks in the arched roof, you pull yourself along the ceiling until you reach the far end of the hall. Fortunately, the door is unlocked and you're able to open it with your foot and lower yourself safely through the archway into the hall beyond. The moment you negate your spell of levitation and set foot upon firm ground, you feel a warm breeze. You sense that it comes from a stairwell at the far end of this new hall, and when you investigate it, you discover Wolfsbane's footprints on the stone steps. You cast your hands over them and detect that this is not a false trail. Your enemy passed this way within the last hour. Slowly, you ascend the stairs and arrive at an arched entrance to a large, vaulted stone chamber. Gathered around a fountain set into its north wall are a group of 6 grey-skinned humanoids. They are busy drinking a clear, oily fluid that pours from the fountain's spout. All are barefoot and clad in rags, each armed with a spear and bow. The only exit from the chamber appears to be an archway set high in the north wall. There is a balcony in front of it that can only be reached by 2 flights of stairs that rise up on either side of the fountain. If you have magic and high enough rank and wish to use it, you summon your skills to mask your body prior to uttering the words of teleport. You focus on the distant balcony and feel yourself leave the ground and surge towards it. As you come close to passing over the fountain, you pray that your camouflage skills will keep you hidden. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have advanced invisibility, also add 4. We don't roll a 1, so we get okay. Your camouflage skills keep you hidden from the unwanted attention of the creatures below, and you reach the balcony without being seen. Once you are here, you whisper the words that negate the spell, and then you hurry into the archway. The use of the teleport spell costs you some hit points. Remember to adjust your action chart. You have covered 20 yards of a passageway that extends from the balcony when you hear a grating noise. It is a concealed portal, and it is sliding shut to seal off the hall through which you have just passed. Ahead lies a chamber which is bedecked with a score of lavish tapestries, each depicting the landscapes of remote and wondrous planets within the universe of Aeon. Your adversary's tracks pass through this opulent chamber and end at a pair of stout wooden doors inlaid with exquisite gold marqueterie? Marqueterie? I know what a marquee is, but what's marqueterie? Thin sheets of wood, metal, or organic material, such as shell or mother of pearl, cut into intricate patterns according to a preconceived design and affixed to a flat surface of furniture. You place your ear to one of the doors and concentrate. The only sound you can hear is a crackle of a log fire, but your senses detect the presence of your adversary in the room beyond. You peer through a keyhole and glimpse part of a gallery with a railed parapet. The wooden rails are lit from below by a warming yellow flicker of fire. You reach out to open the door and confront your enemy, but a strong sense of unease stays your hand. It feels as if a swarm of butterflies are fighting to escape from your churning stomach. You have a chilling premonition that a confrontation with Wolfsbane in the room beyond could prove fatal for both of you. This fear prompts you to pray to the god Kai and Ashia to sustain and protect you from the coming fight. Pick a number from the random number table. We roll high. We get a little bit of health back. The gods answer our prayers. The doors swing open into a gallery which encircles 3 sides of a large banquet hall. Below, through the wooden spindles of the gallery's parapet rail, you see the hall itself. Tapestries drape the walls, and a blazing fire crackles in a great stone fireplace that occupies much of the north wall. Your adversary is sitting alone in a throne-like chair at the head of a long banqueting table. A plain, long, oblong-shaped wooden case lies closed on the table before him. "Welcome, Lone Wolf. I'm glad you could join me," he says, his voice oozing sarcasm, as he gets to his feet and tilts his head condescendingly towards the gallery. You see his right hand move below the edge of the table, and moments later, you hear the double doors swing shut and lock behind you. Anxiously, you cast your eyes around the hall, searching out for his hidden accomplices. "We are alone," he replies. "The time has come. Our jaunt across Avaros has been leading to this moment of truth." Wolfsbane reaches out to the slim case laid on the table before him and flips open its lid. Inside, you see 2 thin-bladed dueling rapiers, couched on a velvet liner. We two are as equally matched as these fine blades. Come, Lone Wolf, I challenge you to duel honorably. Come and choose your weapon and let fate decide who will triumph this day. You magnify your vision and scrutinize the case. Your senses confirm that the swords are finely crafted blades. They are not booby-trapped, nor are they magically cursed. If you accept his duel, or if you decline his challenge, of course we accept his challenge. Slowly, you descend the stairs and approach the banqueting table. Wolfsbane slides open a case towards you and motions for you to take a weapon. You reach for the box and remove the uppermost rapier, and then you slide the case back across the table. "Very well," he says, "let the duel begin." The combat ratio for the duel is -4. This ratio takes into account all bonuses that you could apply, including weapon grandmastery, psychic attacks, special items. His endurance is equal to yours, unless you possess a bronze disc. If you possess this, you may reduce it by 4. Conduct the combat using normal combat procedure. Should he be reduced to 10 or less health, turn to this page. No? Well, we did well on the first round, even on the second. Slightly worse than him on the third. Much better on the fourth. Slightly worse on the fifth. About even on the sixth. Slightly worse on the seventh. Much better on the 8th. Scroll. Somewhat worse on the 9th. Considerably better on the 10th. And now he should be... He is wounded enough. He runs away. Wolfsbane staggers backwards, clutching at his wounds with his free hand. You move forwards, eager to finish him, but he parries your lunge, and then, with a look of utter desperation in his soulless eyes, glances up at the ceiling and shouts, "Take him! Take him now!" Your blood freezes when a great gull-winged horror emerges from a hidden perch among the hall's shadowy rafters. It plunges towards you, a fiery sword held at arm's length ready to be driven through your heart. If you have ever encountered the demoness Shamath in a previous adventure, turn here. We have, and we trapped her in the... She was jumping through the portal, and we blew up the portal as she was partway through. The creature that is diving towards you suddenly freezes in midair. The morbid fear of death that had gripped your heart evaporates swiftly. But you are left with a feeling of unease as your Kai senses detect something extraordinary is taking place. The hall has become filled with a deadly silence, and everything, including the tongues of flame trailing from the creature's sword and the blazing fire in the grate, is utterly frozen. It is as if time itself is standing still. Wolfsbane is a frozen statue, his face fixed in the malevolent sneer he was wearing in gleeful anticipation of the doom that you were about to meet. You're beginning to think that perhaps you've been killed and that this is the afterlife, when suddenly you glimpse a blurred movement at the corner of your eye. From out of the shadows cast by the gallery steps a young teenage girl, dressed in a leather jerkin and threadbare trousers. You recognize her at once. This is Elise, the strange, enigmatic creature who helped you once before during your confrontation with the demoness Shamath. Hail, Bob. Cheers. Thank you for the raid. What are you doing here, you stammer? Casually, she walks towards you and reaches up to touch a finger to the frozen, fiery sword clutched in the taloned hands of Wolfsbane's winged minion. I'm doing what I like best, minding other people's business. She prods the frozen sword with the tip of her finger, and there is a gentle pop. Instantly, the creature disappears. I do hate cheats, she says, as she wanders over to where Wolfsbane is standing immobile. Cheekily, she pokes out her tongue at him, and then she spins on her heel to face you. Now, perhaps you can finish what you came here to do, she says, and claps her hands 3 times. A sudden rush of noise assails your ears, and your senses reel as reality comes flooding back, and time passes once again in the hole. The triumphant sneer dies on Wolfsbane's face the instant he realizes his winged minion has disappeared, and that you are still alive. He recoils, his mouth gaping and his eyes wide with disbelief. As he retreats, he brushes against Elise and utters a yelp of fright. His abject fear, however, soon transforms into blind fury. You! He cries accusingly. Fueled by rage, he raises his sword in readiness to slash at her face. You rush forwards and block his vicious blow. Then you twist the blade from his grip, and with one swift thrust skewer his heart upon the tip of your rapier. Wolfsbane regards the blade protruding from his chest with a look of utter astonishment. Then, with a curse on his blood-flecked lips, he drops to his knees and crumples lifelessly to the floor. You step away from the body of your enemy and allow yourself a smile of grim satisfaction that you have at last rid Aeon of this evil intruder. Hurry, Lone Wolf, says Elise impatiently. Nar is vengeful. He will soon be wanting to know how his champion is faring. If he finds him slain, we will both feel his wrath. Then we must escape, but how? Do you know a way? Maybe, she replies. Yes, I've got a plan. If you possess Kai Screen and have attained a high enough rank, turn here. Come, Grandmaster, you're going home, she says, and she takes you by the hand and leads you to the middle of the banquet hall, to a place directly opposite the great fire. But first we must make preparations for the journey. Elise then proceeds to tell you to use your advanced Kai mastery to mask the goodly aura that radiates naturally from your mind and body. When you have done as she requested, she touches the platinum amulet that you wear around your neck and smiles. Good, good. This bauble will now take care of the rest. She then takes a piece of limestone from her pocket and proceeds to draw a pentagram on the floor of the hall. She's half completed the complicated design when suddenly she becomes agitated. Hurry. We must hurry. Suddenly the fire in the hearth flares brightly. The flames begin to glow and whirl and slowly change color. It's no good, she cries, tearful with frustration. It is too late. Nar is summoning his champion. Pick a number from the random number table. We've rolled low. Take 2 damage. You feel your throat tightening as the air is sucked from the chamber. The whirling flames of fire rapidly transformed into a raging vortex, which is dragging into its very core every loose item in the banquet hall. You and Elise hang onto the banister rail affixed to the gallery stairs, but it is becoming increasingly difficult to maintain your grip. Chairs, tapestries, tables, and the furniture battle you as they tumble past and are sucked into the vortex. Then the rail itself collapses, and the two of you are drawn into the raging heart of this fearsome whirlpool. For what seems like an eternity, you plummet into the swirling heat of a supernatural vortex. Brilliant sparks and flashes of colour illuminate the funnel of darkness, as items of furniture from the banquet hall explode and disintegrate, unable to withstand the extraordinary pressures generated by this cosmic whirlpool. You watch with shock and awe as the lifeless body of your adversary is transformed into a fiery meteor before your very eyes. Gradually, the spin of the vortex becomes less fierce, and you feel the centripetal pull of your body easing. Beams of light penetrate the darkness, and you see Elise glide into view. She appears to be reclining, as if casually resting upon a couch after a weary day's work. Her expression is mildly pensive. She looks as if, to her, this whole terrifying journey is nothing more than an irritating inconvenience. At last, the vortex slows to a standstill, and you feel ground solidifying beneath your feet. But then the darkness gives way to a swirling mist which dissolves to reveal a horrifying sight. A deep and morbid terror returns to twist its knife in your guts when you suddenly realize where you are. You have been summoned to the throne hall of Nar, the seat of the power of the King of Darkness, the inner sanctum of ultimate evil. Before you lies a smoke-filled hall that reeks of death and decay. Only the floor appears to be solid, and that yet when you stare down at its glassy surface you see that it is honeycombed with thousands of cells, each one occupied by a tortured soul writhing in perpetual torment. The walls of the evil chamber are wreathed with sulphurous smoke, lit intermittently by shafts of crimson lightning. The foul substances which pass for air seethe with the tension of ferocious evil energies. From the center of the floor there arises a slender domed plinth. Moments later a wide dais rises beside it, upon which you see a visage of the dark god, one that he favors whilst occupying his unholy throne hall. Nothing could have prepared you for the sight that now meets your gaze. It is the foulest thing that you have ever seen. Nar's favored form is a great globular body, like that of a bloated spider, borne by a score of stunted limbs which emerge chaotically from the underside of a sack-like abdomen. His face hangs like a parody of a wrinkled old sow's, yet with an evil-smelling black hole where one would expect a snout. The upper surface of his body is covered with pouches of vile fluids that trail wisps of black smoke, and his maw is studded with hundreds of blue-stained fangs. However, it is the eyes that shock you the most. He has the eyes of a man. He shifts his bloated body from the dais and slither shuffles towards the plinth. A misshapen limb extends to this plinth, and its domed cover retracts to reveal a wondrous and mysterious artifact. A second shock stuns your senses when you recognize the nature of the artifact. It is one of the most legendary items in the long history of Magnamund, the fabled moonstone of the Chianti. The moonstone was created many thousands of years ago by the godlike Chianti whose presence on Magnamund heralded the dawn of humanity. The wondrous artifact contains the combined might of all their magic and wisdom, the sum of all their knowledge. So significant was the creation of this artifact that all time on Magnamund is measured from the date of its creation. It has long been held that the moonstone's location was a secret known only to the remnants of the Chianti, who dwell upon the Isle of Lorne in the deepest southern Magnamund. Yet the evidence of your eyes tells you that this mythical stone of power has fallen into the hands of the dark god. Suddenly, the significance of the moonstone becomes clear. Nar is using it to generate the shadow gates within the world of Magnamund, at locations and times of his choosing. Such power has enabled him to send his loathsome champions to your world, while the goodly forces of Kai and Ashir held at bay, helpless to counter them. Only you and your Kai brethren have stood in the way of this onslaught of Na's agents since the demise of his Dark Lords. The hideous form of the Dark God returns to the dais and settles there uneasily. Then a deep rumble fills the throne hall. It is a prelude to the voice of Na. You have done well, my champion. Now I command you to return to accursed Summerland and finish my work. Prepare the way for my armies of night. At last, this planet is mine for the taking. My victory is complete. It is clear from his words that he thinks you are his champion, freshly returned from a duel in which evil has triumphed. Suddenly you see Elise emerge from the smoky wall less than a dozen paces behind Na. Yet the Dark God appears unaware of her presence. She is calm and focused, and you sense that she is waiting for an auspicious moment to approach the plinth and take the moonstone. With bated breath you watch as she inches closer and closer to the moonstone. Then Na shifts his gruesome bulk and she freezes. You will not return to Summerland alone, Wolfsbane. Ketatag, the Avenger, will accompany you. He has a mission of assassination to complete in Toran, at the Brotherhood of the Crystal Star. Then the Dark God emits a high-pitched whistle, and moments later, a fearsome warrior answers his call. He emerges from the smoky wall, and the floor shudders as he strides to the center of the hall. If you have advanced mental defenses, turn here. Kekatag, the Avenger, is attired in battle armor. His resplendent jeweled battle shorts that glimmer like slime-dulled gold. Beneath his helmet, there is a hollowed skull face, from which emerges a sickly stench that permeates even the foul air of this hall. The skulls and bones of humans bedeck his armored hide, and his mighty hands carry a great two-handed axe, its blade stained black with the blood of his countless victims. This fearsome warrior holds you with his glowing eyes, and you feel waves of powerful psychic energy buffet your mind. Your advanced defenses repel his attack, but you've left no doubt that he is deeply jealous of your supposed defeat of Lone Wolf. Na moves from the dais and commands Kekatag to cease his psychic assault. The murderous Leviathan complies with his master's wishes. For the first time since he strode into this throne hall, Kekatag turns to face Na. His intent is to bow his huge form in dutiful deference to his master's authority. But this formality is soon forgotten when his psychic powers detect the presence of Elise. The realization that she is here makes the warrior bellow with supernatural rage. This deafening sound galvanizes Elise into action. She leaps towards the plinth and places both of her hands upon the surface of the moonstone. Instantly, a whirling hole appears in the smoking wall of the throne hall. It is the unmistakable mouth of a shadow gate. Flee, Lone Wolf. Flee to your homeland before it is too late. Bravely she stands her ground, her hands clasped around the glowing moonstone, as Kekatag and Na advance upon her from two sides. You are deeply moved by the courage of this enigmatic being. It seems she is prepared to sacrifice her immortality that you might escape alive from this terrible place. If you obey, turn here. If you choose to stay and fight... Ooh, yeah, we got a whole bunch of healing potions. Let's healing potion up and maybe stay and fight. This might be an insta-death and we have to repeat everything, in which case I cry. Elise draws upon her magical powers to create a cocoon of energy to protect both her vulnerable body and the legendary moonstone. Kekatag assaults this glowing shield with maniacal ferocity, his great two-handed axe drawing fiery sparks with every blow. You can sense from the hatred which blazes in his supernatural eyes that he and Elise are old enemies. Na is now aware of your true identity. He also senses that you have made no effort to reach the Shadow Gate, and so he moves away from Elise, happy to allow his minion to press on the attack while he devotes his undivided attention to you. We do have the Summer Sword. You draw your divine blade from its scabbard, and a halo of golden light irradiates the throne hall. Nar bellows in terrible rage. He is mortally aghast that such a holy weapon is unsheathed in his presence. Within his inner sanctum, and in his anger, he summons a host of rubbery-limbed horrors. We will fight the creatures. The Cryopedians. Let's have one of our healing potions at least. Maybe two. Two seems sensible. Maybe one more. Alright, let's go. We will use Psychic Attack. Let's go. Half dead. Dead in 2 rounds. Lovely. Basically no damage to us. We win the combat. As the last of the creatures dies, you leap over its heaped body and stumble through the Shadow Gate. Into a whirling oblivion. The last image that burns itself into your memory is that of Elise slowly succumbing to the relentless blows from Kekatag's axe. The memory of her fearless bravery strengthens your spirit and resolve to forever serve the forces of good against the accursed hordes of darkness. Congratulations, you have won a great victory over the forces of evil. You have defeated Nar's sinister plan to destroy you and conquer all of Magnamund. But as you return through the Shadow Gate to the land of your birth, you know that the fight against evil is not yet over. If you are to prevent the Dark God from launching his armies of night into Magnamund, you must return to the Plane of Darkness and retrieve the fabled Moonstone. Only by doing this will Magnamund be free from the ravages of Nar's unholy hordes. It will be a supremely perilous mission, perhaps the most dangerous you have ever undertaken. If you possess the true courage of a Kai Grandmaster, the ultimate quest awaits you in the climax to the Grandmaster series, entitled The Curse of Nar. Oh, I thought we would have to fight Nar where we were. But I suppose it does make sense that there's one more book that we can't. I was expecting to fight him, have him run away, and then we have to, like, super finish him off next book. But even though I kept taking the option to, like, stay and fight, after the stay and fight against his summoned minions, it just instantly said, no, you run away anyway. Oh well. This book was a bit, I'm going to say a bit less good. It was just an endless series of, you are now in a cave. The cave has 3 passages. The 3 passages go somewhere. They open to a big open area. The open area has a tower. You go to the tower. You work your way into the tower. The tower has a trapdoor that goes into another cave. Repeat. Repeat that about 6 times in a row until you get to the end. It didn't really have a narrative arc in terms of, like, you're trying to get to a place and achieve a set thing. Yes, nominally we were trying to chase Wolfsbane, but it felt a lot less directed. It felt a lot less cohesive than the other stories' arcs have been. So I'm a bit saddened by this book. At least it wasn't stupidly unreasonably difficult, and it's left us with a nice number of healing potions to take into the next book. So cheers. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed the 19th and penultimate book in our Lone Wolf Wednesdays Lone Wolf Saga playthrough. Join us next time for the last.